Opening Drive on 101 ESPN.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday from the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it is 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us on a beautiful Friday morning in St. Louis. Second alert weather. It's sunny and 73 right now in the Lou. Good morning. How you guys doing?
I was thinking about yesterday how we were over at Norwood and you had First Alert there. So David Emilati, who is a big fan of the show, he listens. I know that his family listens also every single day too. And
Lindenwood guy?
Yes, Lindenwood guy, great guy. And we saw his First Alert mic. And the first thing that Randy said, Dan, is, we need a Second Alert mic. We need to work on this.
We do.
You going to do it?
We need a Second Alert 101 mic like. Yeah, I'm gonna make one. Yeah.
How was the?
I'm gonna make one.
How was the Ascension press conference?
It was fantastic.
Great.
Steve Flesh is great. The defending champ was interviewed, and they're getting ready to go. They're only a month away now. Today is August 2nd, and they're September 6th, I believe, that we get things going over there, and everything seems to be rocking and rolling towards a great tee-off for the Ascension Charity Classic.
Yeah, they have the APGA event. I don't know if they talked about that. That's at Glen Echo, and then you have the Ascension Charity Classic. So looking forward to it. Should be fun.
I love that event every single year because with it, I didn't know what to expect the first time it came around. I wasn't expecting the players to be so accessible. I mean, they're right there. They're interacting with the fans. Obviously, the first year, John Daly, watching him interact with the fans was probably one of my favorite highlights. It's such a great event every single year, and it raises a lot of money for the area.
Except when John Daly pulls out of the event last year because he just said, I'm done. He was in the middle of day 2, I think it was. He just said, I'm done.
Yeah.
And he disappeared.
I was there at the 9th when he just picked up and walked away, got in the cart, and boom, he was gone.
Had enough.
Yeah.
Very John Daly-esque.
Oh, is it ever?
Yeah.
I wonder if he went to McDonald's after that. You think?
Probably.
That's
I could see
his
that.
thing. He exists on cigarettes, Diet Coke, and McDonald's.
Yeah. And his body kind of looks that way.
Yeah, it kind of does.
You know,
It catches up with you.
Not to throw, I'm not trying to disparage how he lives his life here, but that's how he decides to eat.
No, you're 100% right. Okay, the Cardinals, let's start with this. Favorite things in sports. If I was going to give you my top 10 list, one of my top 10, I think, would be the 1:20 Friday afternoon games at Wrigley Field that the Cardinals play today. And maybe I don't think it is indigenous just to the Cardinals. I like it when anybody plays the 1:20 Friday afternoon game at Wrigley Field. I think during the summer, those games I would list as one of my top 10 things in sports.
I agree with you. I like earlier starts. I was thinking about this the other day. What is the perfect time to start a game? Whether it's football, baseball, anything like that. What is the perfect time to start a game? Say it's a Saturday specifically. Do you like the earlier games, an 11 a.m. start, or do you like the later starts?
It's different because now the SEC has changed from the 2:30 to 3:30 because of the move from CBS to ESPN. I thought the 2:30 SEC games on CBS were perfect.
I did too.
Perfect.
I did too.
Yeah.
I love it at 11:30. Then you go to the 2:30, 3 o'clock window, and then you have the late night games, and then you have even later games from the West Coast.
Right.
That's what I love about college football. Going back to your original question, Randy, I think what I loved about it and it drew me in was WGN.
Yeah,
being home and maybe it's 100 degrees out and you're playing wiffle ball, and then you come inside to take a break and there's the Cubs, and Cubs playing anybody. I didn't care. It was a day game watching Major League Baseball on a Friday, not a Saturday, not a Sunday, certainly not on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. It's going to be on a Friday, and you always anticipated that.
And being in Chicago, going to a 1:20 game so you can hang out in Chicago on Friday night, then you go to a Saturday day game and hang out on Saturday night, then you go to a Sunday day game and come home if you're from St. Louis. It's pretty darn cool. It's a good weekend.
Have you been to a lot of those weekends? I'm assuming you have been.
Yeah.
They're the best. It's so much fun, and the weather's usually great too. It's not blistering hot. It's coming in off the lake. It's a little breezy, so you get a great day of watching Major League Baseball. So if you're a fan of the Cardinals, though, last night, you may not be a fan of Major League Baseball this morning.
By the way, for Cardinal fans that maybe are driving up there now, headed to Chicago for the Friday game, today is a 1:20 start, and the Cardinals will have Erick Fedde making his Cardinal debut. He'll be going against Javier Assad. As Dan mentioned, the Cardinals lose last night, bottom of the ninth. Dansby Swanson with an RBI double to tie the game, and then Mike Tauchman with an RBI double to win it 5-4. Everything went right for the Cardinals. They scored 4 more runs. The pitching was handled very deftly by the skipper, Ali Marmol. Everything that the Cardinals need to do to win a game transpired last night, except actually winning the game.
Yeah, you had a lot of positives. Paul Goldschmidt was a positive. Nolan Arenado was a positive. And with Sonny Gray, he was able to overcome some hard contact very early on in those first 2 innings and settle in and was able to do well. And then you want Ryan Helsley in that situation, right? You want Ryan Helsley in the 9th inning. That's what he's so good at. And as Tony La Russa said, they're men, not machines. They will make mistakes. And with Ryan Helsley, that was just his 3rd blown save of the season, but it makes it a little bit more painful because of the situation the Cardinals are in. To your point of the Cardinals and Cubbies and just watching them this time of year, typically you like where these 2 teams are at. It's a battle in the division, and this is a situation where the Cardinals, maybe the Cubs are not battling, of course, in the division. They're terrible right now, but at the same time, for the Cardinals, they're trying to build momentum, and they're trying to make that playoff push, so it makes it a little bit more painful there.
Takes away the momentum for sure, and it makes, I think, this game a little bit more important when you have a new guy that's added to your rotation. Going back to last night, I don't know what else Ollie could do. You know,
he was perfect.
And you had Helsley rested and ready to go after back-to-back blowouts. And so the 6-1 hate says, what a pathetic loss. I'm shocked to get that from him here on this Friday morning. So thank you for reminding me it was a tougher loss than maybe some of the other ones. But players have a way to put that in the back of their minds and move on to a day game today. That's just how it works.
Cardinals, after the loss last night, 43-17. 43-17 when they score 4 or more. And I don't know how savvy the 6-1 hate is as a baseball fan, but you got, in my opinion, you got everything you wanted out of Sonny Gray last night. He delivered a fine performance for you. You got what you wanted out of the offense. What makes it, I guess, a pathetic loss is that you lost in the bottom of the 9th with your closer, who blew his 3rd game of the year. This goes back to my old adage that you're going to win 60 and you're going to lose 60, and it's the other 40 that really matter. Last night was one of the 60 that you were going to lose. It was just one of those days, and in baseball you have one of those days. You know what? The Cardinals had one of those days. Of course, the umpiring didn't help out in Game 6 of the 1985 World Series. It happens in baseball.
It does. With Sonny Gray, did you guys notice any of the adjustments that he made after those first 2 innings? Because we saw with his last outing, it was not great. July was not a great month for him, but it seems like he was able to make some adjustments and also fix maybe some of those issues that he alluded to in his last start.
He just got sharper. You know, I thought in the 2nd inning, he was, as you mentioned, there was hard contact against him. I didn't think he was nearly as sharp as we've seen him in other starts. And you kind of got the idea of like, oh, man, here we go again. But to his credit, he was able to gather himself, get through that inning with minimal damage, and got sharper as the night went on. And that's all you ask. I mean, sometimes guys come out slow, and it takes a while just to get things going. And he gave his team a chance to win, and that's all you can ask. It's just one of those games. It's a tough loss. If you're a fan out there, you wake up this morning, you're like, man, that one stings, and certainly it does, but players have a way of putting these games behind them and getting ready for Game 2 today. With Fedde on the mound, I would imagine there's a little bit of excitement with the Cardinals, seeing what Fedde's got and a little jolt to the rotation, so I think they come to the ballpark having put last night away and then having just that little jolt of a guy that comes into this rotation that should help them win some games.
Yeah, it's amazing when you talk to a lot of pitchers, Sonny Gray being one of them. What's the most important pitch? It's strike one. And last night in that 2nd inning, he's down 2-0 against Bellinger. He's down 1-0 against Paredes. Horner falls behind 0-1 and then singles. Swanson gets a base hit on the first pitch, and then he's behind against Crow Armstrong before he lines out, and then he got ahead of Amaya. So it's 4 Sonny Gray being ahead in the count. He's not a guy that is going to light you up with velocity so that he can fall behind in the count and get you. So he's a guy that has to fill up the strike zone and be ahead in the count.
And hitters are in the back of their mind. It's like when they're down 0-1, 1-2, it's like, okay, what's coming? Is it the sweeper, sinker? He's going to elevate a four-seam fastball. You know, he's got the ability to do that. And Randy, to your point, he pitches.
Yeah.
He's not an overpowering guy. He's got plenty of good stuff, but he's not going to overpower you in a lot of ways. But he's going to rack up his strikeouts because he gets ahead in the count and because he has a pretty good repertoire.
From the 309, on one side, I'd argue that another reliever needed to be ready when they tied it, but at the same time, he's your best reliever that they got.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think Helsley's the guy.
Exactly.
You go down with him or you win with him, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah, that's just the way it is, because here's the thing. If you get beat with somebody other than Ryan Helsley, you're getting beat with somebody who's not your best. If you're going to get beat with your best.
And he's rested.
Yeah.
Now, there's a point to be made maybe if he goes 3 days in a row, which is not going to happen, and you say, man, this guy doesn't have it. We got to get him out of there. And the only time I see him going 3 days in a row is when you're in September and it's must win. Like, you have to do it. And you still think, okay, this guy on fumes is still our best option. But that would be the only time and even then I wouldn't take him out of a game. If I'm getting him up, he's going to win it or he's going to lose it for us.
Yeah. Football last night, the Hall of Fame game rained out in the third quarter. Bears up 21-17 when it was rained out. And the big news for the NFL yesterday, a federal judge overturned his jury's verdict of almost $50 million in the class action lawsuit filed against the NFL for the Sunday ticket verdict, because the judge said that the jury misunderstood and then misapplied his instructions.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I shouldn't be that shocked, right? When I saw that news come out, I said, the NFL will find a way.
Yeah.
They always find a way in that situation. I think it's just really disappointing that that's what's happening here.
And this is one of the reasons that St. Louis took the $790 million. A lot of people say, why didn't you take it to trial? And you could have won in trial. You could have. But you always have to be wary of the appellate system. And heck, this didn't even have to go to appeal. And the people can file another lawsuit if they want. But right now, or he could just revert the damages to be $1 and end everything.
Can I go back to the baseball game for a moment?
Yeah.
So the 314 says, I think that stolen base challenge broke Helsley's concentration. Those pitchers are weird like that. Just my take. I think you have to challenge, though.
I agree.
And I understand that pitchers are creatures of habit and there's a rhythm that you get in, but you have to challenge. And if you think you got him out, then you got to make that call as a manager and say, we got to go for it and get him out.
Line, right?
Absolutely. And so I think you have to challenge and then count on your reliever to get back on track. Sorry, I was just thinking about that. So
that's a good point. So that is the Cardinals last night, Cardinals and Cubs today, second game of 4 at Wrigley at 1:20. Coming up, the Olympic golf is underway. We're going to talk to our buddy Jay Delsing about that and more next on 101 ESPN.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on
Dan and Randy, and we head to the celebrity line. Our buddy Jay Delsing joins us now here on 101 ESPN. The Olympic golf starts at about 2 in the morning St. Louis time, and they're playing right now in Paris. Jay, good morning to you. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you guys?
Everything's good. How are you enjoying the Olympic golf?
Well, I'm not getting up at 2 or whatever. I think it's 2:10. When is it? 2:10.
Yeah.
But I love it. I wish there was a way that they could figure out a team component to the thing. I think it would be it'd be neat, but I from a logistics standpoint, I just think it would probably take too much time.
All they have to do is ask Liv how to do it.
Oh, yeah, they know how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just play like 12 holes. Everybody will play at the same time, and everybody will play left-handed.
There you go.
Jay, what do you think about how the players are feeling this? It seemed like a lot of them had quotes yesterday about how they were actually surprised with how nervous that they were.
Yeah, no doubt. Brooke, it's interesting because in 2016, when they first put golf back in the Olympics, as everyone knows, it was in St. Louis the last time in 1904. So it had been gone a long time. And a lot of the players were, they were really kind of lukewarm to the idea. But it's really, really caught on. And it's neat. I think the biggest story for me, you guys, is this golf course. This is this golf course in outside of Paris where the U.S. Ryder Cup team just got completely whacked in 2016, and the way they can set this golf course up, really almost anti-American player. They didn't do that in the Olympics with a super, super high rough like they did in the Ryder Cup, but this is a golf course, you guys, that the European players and the European Tour players play all the time, and so I really feel like it's Xander Schauffele's playing better than anybody else in the world right now, and it's no surprise he's leading the golf tournament, but I really think it's going to be tough to have more than one American up there in the podium.
You mentioned Xander Schauffele, and you got Scotty Scheffler, who's had an unbelievable year. I think it's up for debate, Jay. Maybe from your perspective, it's an easy answer, or others out there that are experts, but who would you give the Player of the Year to right now?
Oh, Danny, that's a tough one. I mean, you'd almost have to, you look at, here's Scheffler that's won 6 tournaments before June, and I think the only person in the history of the game that has ever done that before was the great Arnold Palmer. And now you look at what Xander Schauffele's done in the majors, and he's won 2 major championships and 2 top 10s in the others. You probably have to give it to Xander Schauffele. I think what'll determine it is what happens from this point on. I think the Olympics will be weighted, but they won't be weighted nearly as much as the Tour Championship and the playoffs. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this last month of golf once the guys get back across the pond.
Hey, Jay, one of the things that I'm loving about this Olympic competition is that when you look at the leaderboard, you've got an American at the top, a Spaniard, a Japanese, a British guy, Belgium, you've got Mexico, you've got Finland, you've got Argentina. You've got all of the countries represented, not all, but you've got so many different countries that are represented in the top 10, and you don't have any country dominating. So you really, truly have a world competition going on here.
Randy, absolutely. I think that's what you just said states so well what's going on in the game of golf right now, because the PGA Tour is really the world tour, and there's players of the top 125 that were exempt last year. I think there's over 40 countries represented around the world, and that never happened back in my day. So I think it bodes for how global the game has become, and what good players are all over the place now.
I wanted to ask you about Wyndham Clark. He got off to a really rough start, I guess is the best way to put this, in the opening round yesterday. What did you see from him?
I saw Twitter just go ahead and grill the heck out of him. I don't know. Wyndham, Brooke, it's interesting because the way that the world golf rankings are completely upside down. We know that. I don't know how, in what universe, Bryson DeChambeau is not on the red, white, and blue team. It's so screwed up, especially just coming off the win in the U.S. Open. So Wyndham Clark has played poorly oh my gosh, for probably 6 months. I think he had a couple of nice tournaments at the beginning of the year, but it really hasn't been heard from. Gosh, it's been a couple months. I don't know when the last time I've seen him up on the leaderboard, and I don't think his play and his form is any surprise to anyone, but it's not a whole lot of fun to watch, especially when it's such an exclusive field, you guys. I mean, if we can't get this thing figured out with LIV, there's going to have to be some sort of different consideration on how they pick some of these teams.
Jay, I know that you would love to represent your country, and so that would be very meaningful to you. So from your perspective of a guy that played over 700 PGA Tour events and 30 years on tour, you've got the majors, which would be amazing to win a major, but what do you think it means to these players to potentially win the gold? Is it just kind of a footnote in their career, or do you think it is very, very special and very meaningful to them?
Oh, Danny, I think it's really, really meaningful. And I think it also depends on, which player wins it. I think you've got the opportunity, if a guy like Tommy Fleetwood, who's actually won a tournament on this, the Golf de Nacional over there, if he wins this thing, I mean, he just doesn't win that often. He makes an awful lot of money without winning, but it's going to mean something to him compared to what Xander Schauffele. If Xander catches a second gold, I mean, it's going to be really, really cool, but it's not going to mean nearly as much to Xander as it would to someone like Tommy Fleetwood or someone like Thomas Dietrich, he hasn't won much at all, period. And and he's absolutely capable of winning a gold medal. So I think it really depends on which player, winds up capturing this thing. And it's awfully fun to watch, even though the time changes, crazy that you got to get up early in the morning. But it's kind of reminiscent of the British Open a little bit.
Jay, I got this question yesterday, and I want you to answer it. So with a PGA Championship victory, you get a 5-year exemption into the Masters, the U.S. Open, the Open, and then a lifetime exemption. Oh, plus the Players for 5 years, and then a lifetime exemption into the PGA Championship. Obviously, you get to represent your country when you win a gold medal. Would you rather have a PGA Championship victory or a gold medal?
PGA Championship victory, for sure. Yeah. I would give me that major. I mean, ever since we've been kids, there were really 4 tournaments that when I was up in Norwood and playing with my mom's clubs, I was never putting for a gold medal. I was always putting to win the U.S. Open or the Masters or the PGA. So I would take a major championship. I don't think anybody that played the tour would. And that's no disrespect to the gold,
no.
But man, I mean, that's like which kid you like the best. You're like, well, I don't know. I go for the major championship for sure.
I agree.
All right, this weekend we've got Julie Inkster, 31 LPGA wins, 7 major titles, and a World Golf Hall of Famer. Also, Keith Houlimard, he's the commissioner of the APGA Tour, and Chase Johnson, winner of last year's inaugural APGA event here in St. Louis. So that's all tied in with the Ascension Charity Classic. So, Jay, how is your preparation going for this and your excitement level as we're about a month away?
Well, you took $10 from me yesterday, so why don't you tell everybody?
I think your preparation is great because I played a couple of tees in front of you. I tried to play the back 9 or for 9 holes the other day, play from the tips, and I think you took 60 from me. So I think your preparation is going pretty well.
Yeah, it's pretty. Norwood is in great shape. You guys, all of this rain that we've had has really, really helped the golf course kind of recover from this crazy heat and. This APGA this is such a cool event. So the APGA is called the Advocate Professional Golfers Association Tour, and it's an opportunity for some of the guys that maybe have not had a chance to play professional golf get to play for some purses and some prestigious events. Darty Business Solutions is the title sponsor and the presenting sponsor of this thing. It's at Glen Echo, and this kid Chase Johnson. He's a really good young player. He actually qualified and made the cut at Tiger's event at the Genesis at Riviera. And the winner of this is how cool the St. Louis community is, guys, golf-wise, and supporting the game. Worldwide Technologies has a tournament on the PGA Tour, and whoever wins the APGA event gets a sponsor exemption into that event. So, I mean, you have a good week down there, guys, and it can change a career and a life. So it's really great. It speaks to Matt Horner and Jim Kavanaugh and the guys at White, how gosh, having them involved in golf is just a home run for we golfers. And so if you can come out to Glen Echo, it starts, I think, on the 8th, Danny, I think, next week, I think.
Yep.
And it's really, really fun. You're going to get to meet some players that you haven't necessarily heard from before, but you can watch them play, and they can really, really play.
Jay, have a great weekend. We'll be tuned in Sunday morning, 8 to 10, with you and Dan with Golf with Jay Delsing.
We got to get out, Randy. That'll be fun. We got to get out. That'll be fun.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir. Jay Delsing with us on 101 ESPN. By the way, Xander Schauffele leading the way at the Olympics. He is 11 under through 16 today. He's playing with John Rahm, who's also through 16 in his 2 shots back at the lead, along with Tommy Fleetwood and Hideki Matsuyama. Those 3, Rahm, Fleetwood, Matsuyama, both at all 3 at 9 under, 2 behind Xander Schauffele, and then Thomas Detry is at -2. Steven Yeager has moved to -3 on the day. So Detry 8 under for the tournament. Yeager and Pukkanen are 7 under for the tournament.
I guess, as Jay mentioned, if you're from that area or overseas, maybe the gold medal means a little bit more to them. Mm-hmm. I just still think if you had the 4 major professionals and then next on my list, I don't know, if it Players Championship guys, or I don't know, man, a gold medal would be awfully significant in your career. To be able to win that, that'd be awesome.
I think so, too, especially for your country representing that. I feel like that would mean a lot.
I think so, too. I don't know if the players look at it that way, if they're as intense as they would be in a major, but I don't know, man. It would mean a lot to me.
Yeah, and I think it would to everybody, but they just rather have the major.
Yeah.
And I wonder, it'd be interesting to ask the players, would they rather have a Ryder Cup victory or an Olympic gold?
That's a good one. International competition. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. How much does the U.S. pay players for winning a gold medal?
They are not being paid, I don't think. I don't think the golfers are being paid.
Isn't there certain countries that pay their athletes for winning certain medals?
Yeah.
Yep.
But our guys are doing it for the love of
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler, by the way, still in the front. He is -2 today. He's 7 off of Xander Schauffele's pace. It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Coming up, our buddy Greg Amsinger of MLB Network will join us to talk some ball here on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals fall in the ninth inning last night to the Cubs, 5-4. Sonny Gray, though, with a great start. 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, and that 1 home run allowed. Cardinals are back in action today. 1:20 first pitch facing off against the Cubs in Wrigley, and it'll be the Cardinals' new acquisition, Erick Fedde, facing off against Javier Assad. Fedde on the season comes to the Cardinals with a 7-4 record with a 3.11 ERA. Assad for the Cubs, the righty, is sitting on a 5-3 record with a 3.23 ERA through the season so far. And last night, the NFL season, well, the preseason got officially started with the Hall of Fame game as the Bears win 21-17 in a shortened game that was ended in the third quarter. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Dan and Randy, the opening drive, 101 ESPN. We go to the celebrity line, and our friend, native St. Louisan, product of the Lindenwood University, and the lead anchor for MLB Network, Greg Amsinger, joins us right now. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
You know, Randy, I'm very proud to have done the job I've done for my 16th season. I try to think that I'm a professional, really. I love all 30 teams. I get paid to do that. But when I watch Mike Tauchman get his jersey ripped off, and the Cubs are happier than they've ever been, and Dansby Swanson's perfect hair is flowing in celebration, I revert back to the 15-year-old Greg who used to throw things at the TV when Ryan Sandberg would hit a home run. Sean Dunston would come around and it'd be a walk-off on the north side of Chicago. Like, when you're from St. Louis, watching the Cubs celebrate when the Cardinals lose like that, it just makes your blood boil, man. Like, it's like a rite of passage. It's part of the territory. It's in our DNA. I had a hard time last night. I had a hard time going to bed.
I understand that, but we got a text that said the season is 1,000% over. You can't have that game when the vibes were just starting to be so good. So as bad as you feel about the game, do you feel like the Cardinal season is 1,000% over?
No. And is it hard to be the therapist for so many millions of Cardinal fans that tune in every day, Randy? You have been a therapist. You've been a baseball therapist to so many over-the-top, overreactive Cardinal fans. I mean, I'll never forget sitting in a radio studio on the other side of the glass. Cardinals lose. I forget who they lost to, but it was like the end of the playoffs. I got knocked out, and the phone lines lit up. And I was like, I'm never watching another Cardinal game. And you're like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to. Next caller, let's go to Baldwin.
Well, here's the thing. I and it's terrible to lose in the playoffs, but I also am a big picture guy, and I understand that only at the end of the season one team can win. But I also, and you see this every single night at MLB Network, that you aren't going to win every game. There are games you're going to lose. And even though you hated that loss last night, how did you think the Cardinals played it? Were you overall happy with the game until they wound up losing it?
Yes, absolutely. And if you look at it big picture, like you're talking, if you ranked all of the Cardinals that are on the roster of who's had the best season, who's the most valuable, who's been the most responsible for the Cardinals to have this resurgence, right? Wouldn't Ryan Helsley be towards the top? Hasn't he been one of the Cardinals' best performers and maybe the most consistent performer all year long? So if you're going to lose a game like that and your best player, who you believe is going to be the most consistent going forward, if Ryan Helsley has this aberrational moment that you think, you know what, he'll bounce back tomorrow, hopefully gets the ball this afternoon game, the Cardinals win 1-0, he gets the save. You got to take it with a grain of salt. I agree with you. The problem with what I've come to learn, because my fandom was like as crazy as everyone else's fandom in St. Louis, I now realize the goal isn't to win the World Series. And I know people driving in their cars right now, oh, you got to be kidding me. You lost your way, Greg. You used to be from St. Louis. You know how this works. What's wrong with you, man? You're drinking the MLB Kool-Aid. No. The goal when you run an organization is to give your fan base relevant games all the way to the end. Keep this season relevant. Keep this season entertaining. Give us a chance to be the Arizona Diamondbacks from last year, to make it in the playoffs and maybe go all the way to the World Series. Once you're in, who knows what can happen? And every year, the Cardinals have that opportunity. And if you're a fan, you're enjoying games in September more than just about any other fan in this sport. And to me, that is the goal. It's just to keep it like, imagine being a Marlins fan. First off, why would you be? But whatever. Imagine that. Chicago White Sox, you had 27 wins all year long. You're on pace to be the worst team ever. These are hard times for fans out there that are trying to be loyal and fight through this. Cardinal fans don't have to deal with that. So, yes, we lose our way when Dansby Swanson's perfect hair is flowing in the wind to the north side of Chicago after they walk off. But you got to remember, big picture, the Cardinals are keeping us entertained all summer.
What was your reaction to the trade deadline? They were able to check all the boxes of their needs. You get a starting pitcher in Erick Fedde. You get a right-handed bat in Tommy Pham, which, welcome back, Tommy Pham, of course. And you also get a reliever in Shawn Armstrong. What did you think of the Cardinals trade deadline, Greg?
Listen, if you're going to go shopping for school clothes and you walk into Macy's and there's only 4 clearance racks that you get to buy clothes from, you got to find something to wear, right? I mean, no offense, I love Tommy Pham, I love Erick Fedde. They got the best of the clearance rack. There were only 4 teams selling. I mean, it's wild when you think about it. There was no one. The expanded postseason kind of changed the game. You had the Cubs doing weird things. You had the Tampa Bay Rays, who are 4.5 games out of a playoff spot, doing some weird things. Where teams buying and selling at the same time. For the most part, it was like 4 teams you could buy from, and everyone rated those 4 teams. I mean, the Marlins have nothing but minor leaguers now playing in their roster, so it's very odd. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. But yet, with just 4 clearance racks, there was more moves than ever before. I mean, 30 trades from 27 teams on that trade deadline day, and so many of them happened around the 4 teams that were selling. So when you're limited, like the Cardinals were, there was no school to go get. Garrett Crochet kind of messed things up with the Chicago White Sox. There were other starting pitchers out there that just didn't get moved. Blake Snell, I don't know what the Giants were thinking. The Cardinals did the very best they could do with the limited number of selling clubs out there. So I think Tommy Pham, I did a Greg's List last night. At the end of the year, who will be the most impactful players that were moved at the deadline? I had Tommy Pham at number 4. And I had Jazz Chisholm at number 7. And Chris Young and Harold Reynolds like, whoa, have you been paying attention? I'm like, do you really think Jazz Chisholm's going to keep this 4-homer every 3-game pace? And Jazz Chisholm, listen, it's one thing to go 0 for 17 in a slump and have the 3 writers that cover the Marlins every day in your face. Wait till Joel Sherman sinks his teeth in, and John Heyman, and Mark Feinsand, and the list goes on and on. New York's waiting for him, man, and they're waiting for one wrong thing that he said. So I love Jazz Chisholm, but I think reality is going to start to set in. I think Tanner Scott will be the most influential trade move of any guy that was moved. Tanner Scott, lefties are 3 for 39 against him. Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Kyle Schwarber, Brandon Marsh, Bryce Harper, get ready because the Padres are coming, and they got the reliever to do that, Tanner Scott.
Who are the winners? Who are the losers, you think, of the trade deadline?
I loved what the Pirates did. I said forever they need a right-handed bat to go behind O'Neal Cruz. And Brian De La Cruz, again, coming from that 1 clearance rack in Miami, I didn't think they were going to move him. He's got 18 home runs, a young player. He's got crazy pop. He has sent some baseballs to an upper deck in almost every ballpark this year. I love him hitting behind O'Neal Cruz. I like their moves a lot. I think the San Diego Padres just gave themselves the best bullpen in the National League. The Guardians have the best bullpen in the sport, but you get Jason Adams to go along, who, by the way, has given up 26 hits in 47 innings. And that is dominance. That it really is. Then you go get Tanner Scott, ERA under 1.2, who's really become a guy. He was the number 1 reliever available. I love the Baltimore Orioles as well. Gregory Soto is a sneaky move. I think the Orioles were in on Tanner Scott. They wanted him, and in the worst way, they didn't get him. So they pivoted and made another deal with a team they might play in the World Series. That is bananas odd, right? The Orioles and the Phillies making all these trades. I feel like it's going to come down to Game 7, Fall Classic, bases loaded, 9th inning, and it's going to be Gregory Soto or Sir Anthony Dominguez on the mound facing Austin Hayes. Like, this is what it's going to come down to.
Right?
It's odd. I just rarely see this. But I love the Baltimore Orioles at least making an effort to do this. I know Trevor Rogers got lit up last night. I like the move to get him. I mean, he's got left-handers take a little while to develop. He was second in the Rookie of the Year when he broke with the Marlins. He's in that rotation now with Zach Eflin. I think the Eloy Jimenez move was odd and weird, but maybe can work for them. I like the Orioles, but I would probably, if I had to rank the winners, I would go Padres 1. I would go Orioles 2, and then after that, it's like the Pirates, Cardinals. There's a cluster of teams that I really like what they did.
Is Bobby Witt the best player in the game?
Man, it's hard to go against Aaron Judge right now. Judge just looks the closest thing to Barry Bonds at the plate, and he's doing it in a clean way, which I love. But he's just impossible to mess around with and get out. But in terms of all of the talent that Bobby Witt brings to the game, it reminds me of Mike Trout as a youngster trying to win the Rookie of the Year against a guy that won the Triple Crown, Miguel Cabrera. And we're all like, the baseball purists are like, come on, Triple Crown, you gotta give it to Miggy. And then the young, analytically driven baseball fans like, but Miggy doesn't run the bases. He doesn't jump over center field balls and bring back home runs. Look at his WAR. Come on. I feel like we're looking at the same argument here. Bobby Witt Jr. plays shortstop, a more premium position than even center field for Aaron Judge. The base stealing, the base running, his sprint speed, the 100th percentile in the game. He is one of the fastest players on the planet. He does everything well. And I don't think anyone expected that this young guy could hit 349 at this stage of the season. He's still incredibly young. I mean, the sky's the limit. Right now, I think Judge would edge him out. We did a whole list of most valuable players on each roster. If we use the metric that all the writers that vote for this award use, wins above replacement WAR, my thing is look at the disparity between who you're talking about, in this case Bobby Witt Jr. and Aaron Judge. Look at their WAR metric and then compare it to the second best WAR on their team. So the second best WAR for the New York Yankees is Juan Soto at like 6.6. And then you've got Aaron Judge at 7.5. Bobby Witt Jr. is at, I believe, 7 right now. And the second highest WAR for the Kansas City Royals is Felix Fermin at 2.6. So if you look at it from that, if the award's called most valuable player, who's the most valuable player on their team, and they might be in the playoffs because of it, Bobby Witt Jr. is by far the most valuable player. So I think right now Judge will still win it because he's got the edge in the WAR, but I think Bobby Witt Jr. is coming.
Greg, if we can go back to the Padres just for 1 second, because they obviously made some aggressive moves, but they lost some top prospects in the process there. 6, I believe, top prospects in the process of making their trades at the trade deadline. A lot of teams really value those prospects and really don't like to move them. What do you think about that aggressive move? And a lot of people say, well, what about the future of this team? It helps now, but what will the future of the team look like moving those prospects?
Well, when the guy that is making those moves might not be around to watch the future of the team develop, like A.J. Preller, if they don't go to the playoffs and make a deep run, I think this is panic mode for A.J. Preller. A.J. Preller has to go to the National League Championship Series if he wants to keep his job. He has sold off a lot of the young talent this organization was built on, and they have nothing to show for it. This, to me, is a guy that is all in. And I think he told the ownership group, look, if it doesn't work, even I now know the writing's on the wall. Even I know. But at least give me one more Hail Mary. Let me try one last chance. Because you're right, the farm system has been completely depleted, but you have a handful of GMs that don't care about that as much as everyone else. I mean, there are GMs, and I won't name any, but there are GMs that believe that they have job security if their farm system is ranked in the top 5 by MLB.com and Baseball America. Not whether or not they're above 500, not whether or not they've been to the postseason in the last 5 years. And that doesn't really matter. Matter of fact, they're so smart, they giggle at analysis like that. Like, oh, my gosh, you think that matters? No, what matters is that we've got the 4th best farm system in baseball. It's bananas. We've lost our way in that regard. I kind of like GMs that care about the on-field product at big league level. A.J. Preller is a little over the top with that, and it hasn't worked to the degree that he would like. But what you saw on the trade deadline day was a panicking GM. And I thought for sure you'd see the same thing in the Bronx, but we didn't see that. And for them to back away from Jack Flaherty because of quote-unquote bad medicals and the Los Angeles Dodgers, who I guess don't have the same medical staff because they don't have the resources to afford that because they're the lonely Dodgers, but they're going to roll the dice on Jack Flaherty. Come on. You missed out on Jack Flaherty. You're salty about it, and you release something that Ken Rosenthal's saying, we didn't like the medicals. Come on. It's like being in a bidding war for a house. We're like, you know what? The guest bathroom wasn't nice anyway. We backed out of it. No, he didn't offer enough money to go get the house. So I think there are GMs that need to win right now. A.J. Preller's one of them, and that's why he sold the future of the Padres.
Part of what makes the Dodgers great is that they'll trade for a Tommy Pham who hasn't played this year. They'll go out and sign a reliever. Didn't they sign Blake Trinan and they knew they weren't going to have him for a year?
Yes.
And the guy from the Yankees, the hard-throwing right-hander from the Yankees. I don't know if he ever even pitched for the Dodgers, but they signed a lot of guys. Heck, they did the same thing with Alex Reyes. They signed guys with the thought that they're going to get healthy at some point.
Yes, it's the reclamation project guy. If you go around and look at the guys that they've had and have enjoyed, Max Muncy. I mean, who wanted Max Muncy when he was with the Oakland A's? They turned him into a perennial 30-homer guy. Chris Taylor, I mean, was with the Mariners, bounced around, couldn't figure it out. He got paid. He's been struggling lately, but he got paid. Kike Hernandez became a guy with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Do you even remember what Justin Turner looked like when he played for the New York Mets and the Baltimore Orioles? He was an out. And then he became one of the great clutch hitters in the middle of nowhere, and now an acquisition at the age of almost 40 that the Mariners need to go get. They've kind of turned seasons around, and dare I say, Jason Hayward, we thought was done. He was going to retire, take his $180 million from the Cubs and go home. But they gave him a 2-year deal in the offseason because he brings incredible value, and he's kind of found it with the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers and the Braves are the two organizations that they're like the country club that you better have your shirt tucked in. You better not turn your hat backwards. You better not say anything that's no profanity on the golf course. Make sure you fix your divots because you're not going to be allowed back in to ever play another round. The players show up to wear those uniforms, and they give it their best. They bring everything they got because who would love nothing more than to stay a Dodger or an Atlanta Brave. Those two organizations have it going right now.
And no cargo shorts.
No, which, by the way, can we just put those away for good?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, can we pull them out of the drawer? Like, come on, Ed. I know you're listening right now. Whoever you are, Ed. I just came up with the name Ed. But there's an Ed listening right now that is sitting there embarrassed because he's currently wearing cargo shorts in his Ford F-150. It's okay, Ed. You made the same move so many of us make. You like saying to a 17-year-old kid, I got cargo shorts older than you. You like that line. It's like a great dad joke. But you gotta burn them. The cargo shorts gotta be burned, and don't ever let them come back.
No, it's over. By the way, Tommy Kahnle was the guy I was thinking of. He pitched 13 games for the Dodgers in 2 years, was really good with the Yankees. He's back with the Yankees. But the Dodgers gave him like $7 million just to see if he could get healthy and help him out. He never did, but they're willing to roll the dice. They can afford to make mistakes like that.
They can, and I heard your Google machine like smoking after you couldn't come up with that name.
Oh,
I knew the buttons were being pushed, and you were finding out who that right-hander was. So I can actually hear it now, Randy. Like, I can hear a smile in Harold's voice. You can hear Harold Reynolds smiling while he talks. I can hear your Google machine working when you're on the radio.
I knew it was Tommy something. I just couldn't think of it. So, Greg, have a great weekend, man. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. And by the way, our thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. I know you had an uncle that passed away, so our condolences to you and the entire Amsinger family.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was my Uncle Jim, Jim Usher, and he really loved the Cardinals. He loved them so much, he hated the Cubs. So last night I was thinking of Uncle Jim while I was watching Dansby Swanson's perfect hair flowing during a walk-off. It was a rough one. It was a rough one, no doubt, but I appreciate the condolences. Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care. Have a good weekend.
All right, see you guys.
That's Greg Amsinger, MLB Network here on 101 ESPN.
Yeah, he really doesn't like Dansby Swanson.
No, Dansby Swanson never better find his way to that studio.
In perfect hair.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Greg's got perfect hair. Maybe a challenge.
Magnificent hair, yeah.
A little jealousy, maybe? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, coming up, we've got a quick TIOLI. Get your text in, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Thank you, Daniel.
You bet. You bet.
It's coming up on 101
No problem.
ESPN.
You bet.
don't send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
It is time for Take It or Leave It on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. And you can send us a text, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Okay, a lot of consternation over the Cardinal loss last night. Take it or leave it. In your mind, the Cardinals need to win the next 3 against Chicago.
Ooh, well, yes, they should, especially if you're creating momentum. It's a very tight wild card race currently right now, so I'll take it.
I'll leave it. Just play 500 on the road. 500 on the road, be better at home. They have not been great at home, although they finished up the homestand with a couple blowout wins. But 500 on the road, get me to 5 or 10 at home, and then I think you're headed to postseason play.
I'm going to take it because of the opponent. Because, and by the way, the Cubs didn't really sell. They kind of actually bought with Paredes, right? And they 3
years left on his deal.
Yeah.
And they kept their starting pitching pretty well together. So I'm going to leave it as well. I think going 500 in Chicago this weekend is good enough for me.
All right, so take it or leave it. We've talked about the White Sox a lot, and they have been struggling, obviously, and they sold about just every important part of this team. Take it or leave it. They will surpass the Phillies back in the 60s for the longest losing streak.
20, is it 26?
23.
23.
And they are at 17 currently. They did not play last night, I don't believe.
I'm going to take it.
Yeah, I'll take that. I don't know their schedule right off the top of my head. I don't think I need to.
No. So they faced the Royals and lost, obviously, and they will face the Twins and then the A's. So maybe
the A's.
But the A's are good.
I don't know. This team is pretty bad with the White Sox.
I think maybe the biggest question, will they wind up with the worst record in the history of the game?
Yeah.
I think that, yeah.
So that'd be what? They would have to win 42?
Yep.
41, right? 41 and 121?
Correct.
They could very easily win only 41 games.
Okay, since Ryan Helsley is top of mind this morning, he is tied with Emmanuel Clase with 33 saves. Atop the leaderboard, Kyle Finnegan, 28. Craig Kimbrell with 23. Robert Suarez with 23 as well. Take it or leave it. I think he will. Ryan Helsley will lead the league in saves before it's all said and done. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that simply because I think the Guardians are going to win more games and give Class A more opportunities to save games.
Ooh, I don't know. I think I will take it just because we still have these close games with the Cardinals. So I think that there's going to be some more chances and opportunities for Ryan Helsley.
Yeah, I see it both ways because
a lot of tight games.
Yeah, and he's only pitched, though, in 5 of the last, I think, 25 days. You know, so I think you need to change the mindset down the stretch because of tight games, because of where you're at. Giving him rest is going to become not obsolete, but you're going to have to push him a little bit more. So I still think he's going to lead the league in saves just because he will get more opportunities down the stretch.
On April 2nd, somebody says you got to take one choice. Either I can see it or that's crazy. On April 2nd, somebody says Cleveland Guardians have the best American League record on August 2nd.
I thought you were insane.
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
You're
2 games ahead of the Orioles and the Yankees right now.
And as Greg said, their bullpen has been just tremendous. They've gotten Stephen Kwan back off of injury. He's hit the lights out of the ball. So they got Ramirez. That's a good team.
Yeah, they really are. Matthew, what do you got there on the text line?
Take it or leave it. The White Sox will not be in Chicago in 5 years.
Leave it.
Really? I mean, I might take it. I think it's a little interesting. There's other cities that are looking for a team. Relocation.
I think baseball will, and Jerry Reinsdorf will make sure that even though he did try to move them.
Yep, he did.
I think he'll make sure that they stay in Chicago.
I think he'll leverage the situation, get a new stadium, and to your point, Randy, I don't think Major League Baseball wants them to leave that major market of Chicago. Yeah. I just don't see it.
And by the way, I think MLB Manfred wants the leverage of teams bidding for expansion possibilities.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. Expansion first or relocation first?
They said they wanted to take care of Oakland, which is kind of still up in the air, I guess, and Tampa, which they passed a bill the other day so that they're going to build on the parking lot at their current stadium. But they need to get Vegas/Oakland situated. But then after that, it's expansion. I don't think there will be relocation of the White Sox.
It's going to wind up that they get to Vegas, but there's a lot of wrangling that's still going on. There's some gray area with some of the issues that they have there. It's interesting.
Take it or leave it. Jordan Walker is a September call-up.
Leave it.
I will leave it.
You only expand by 2 these days. You only expand by 2 players. You go from 26 to 28, and the Cardinals will call up a couple of pitchers.
What about Ivan Herrera?
That could be as a DH too.
Yeah, third catcher.
Yeah, ahead of Walker.
And the other guy I would look at is Victor Scott, just because of his ability. I agree with you. Pitching is where you normally would go, and then a backup catcher. But Victor Scott, with his ability to steal bases, that could be a difference maker in some of these games too.
I can see the Cardinals calling up McGreevy, actually.
Yeah, maybe so.
Take it or leave it. By the end of the regular season, you want Fedde as the Game 1 starter in the playoffs.
I think this is a really interesting question, and I'm going to take it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to leave it because I think they'll go with Sonny Gray, and you gave him $75 million for a reason. Mm-hmm. 75 million reasons as to why he should be the Game 1 starter.
I'm going to leave it. I think it'll be Sonny Gray, but you're already all in on that. Is it the July numbers that are just still sticking with you, Randy, with Sonny Gray?
Oh, it's just the overall season numbers. If you look at the overall season numbers, Erick Fedde is 8th in WAR in all of MLB. Every MLB player,
That's a fair point.
he's 4.9. And he was the most, in terms of rankings, WAR rankings, he was the top player traded at the deadline, and he's one of the best pitchers that's available.
And Randy,
that's out there.
To your point, you took it, and I could make the case for taking it too, is that he's first in ERA on this team, currently on the Cardinals, first in strikeout rate. He'd be second in innings, second in quality starts, and third in walk rate. So I can make a case with those numbers to say that Erick Fedde should be my Game 1 starter. I think they'd go with Gray. That would be my guess. But if Fedde is really good down the stretch, and I know I'm talking on both sides of my mouth here, but if Fedde is really good down the stretch, certainly you could see him being the number 1 guy going into postseason play. If you get there, you got to get there first.
In all of Major League Baseball this year, Tarek Skubal is number 1 among pitchers with a 5.3 WAR. Erick Fedde is number 2 at 4.9 among all pitchers.
Pretty
Either
good.
way, I will say I do feel better about having Erick Fedde in the starting rotation. If you do make the playoffs, having that 1-2 punch.
If you want to do one more?
Yeah, sure. Take it or leave it. Mike Trout goes down as the best player to never win a playoff series.
Oh.
Ooh, Ernie Banks, 512 home runs.
That's pretty good.
He's done for the year, Mike Trout, by the way.
Yeah.
Officially.
Yeah.
We knew that was coming.
It's terrible. I hate it. It's bad for baseball. You want to see that guy play. Who's some other guys off the top of my head? Ernie Banks was number 1 on the top of my list.
And Williams both, right?
Yeah, that's another one.
So many of them get moved and taken care of. Let's see here. Gwynn went to a World Series.
Yep, 1998 against the Yankees.
Yeah. Bonds went to a World Series.
That was against the Angels.
Yeah. Henry Aaron won a World Series.
Yeah.
This is a very good question. It's...
You've been stumped. I've been stumped.
Mike Trout might...
Brooke has been stumped.
In this era. How about Ted Williams?
That would be the one that also comes to mind.
Yeah.
Initially, Banks and Williams, but yeah, Mike Trout never having won a postseason series. Man,
What happens with him moving forward? Is he? Do you think he's? So Rocchio, you think he's done? This
No,
will be the end of his career?
I'm looking at a list of players who
Okay.
never won a playoff series.
DH
Adam
moving
Dunn
forward?
popped up, and
I don't think he's done. Although he's
DH moving
32,
forward, yeah.
you could DH him. I think the bigger question is, does he finish his entire career with the Angels? He's owed a ton of money.
He's a Cardinal.
He's owed a ton
He's
of money.
a Cardinal.
Joe Torre never played in a postseason game as a player.
Right? Yeah, he's
That's
really
insane.
good.
That's insane.
The 73 MVP.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody texted in Satchel Paige.
Oh, really?
Let's see.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So there are a few out there, but you know what? Mike Trout.
Ron Santo.
Yeah.
Jim Bunning.
Mike Trout's going to be right there.
Ralph Kiner.
Yeah.
Never played in a postseason. Felix Hernandez.
That's true. Yeah.
That's a good one. No one remembered how dominant he was.
He was awesome.
He was.
That's a shame that he never got a
Ferguson
chance.
Jenkins, George Sisler.
Some Cubs in there is what you're telling me.
Yeah, and then this one has a list has those as the top 3 alongside Ernie Banks.
Since the advent of playoffs in 1969, you probably have to put Trout number 1, right?
Great point here. 617 says Shohei hasn't done it, and then you got to say yet.
Yes.
He'll win one this year.
He'll have plenty of opportunities in his 10 years.
Yep. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, what do you expect from Erick Fedde in his first Cardinals start? It's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
Perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Obviously, it was a big day. It was exciting. There's obviously some sadness of leaving, your clubhouse and your friends, but so much excitement coming to a team that's pushing for a playoff berth and hoping to affect the team in a very positive manner.
That's new Cardinal starter Erick Fedde, who makes his first Redbird start today in Chicago against the Cubs and Javier Assad. And the question is, what do we expect from Erick Fedde? Guys, he has pitched against the Cubs at Wrigley already this season as a member of the White Sox. He went 5 innings. He allowed 3 earned runs. He struck out 7 and didn't walk anybody. I believe he's going to go 6 innings today, allow 3 earned runs. He's going to strike out 8 and walk 1.
Ooh, okay. I like that one. What about 7 innings? Why not? I'm going to go high.
I would like a mega quality start. Yes, that'd be good.
Yes, that's what I'm going with. I think Erick Fedde is a great addition to the starting rotation. And with things kind of falling into place right now, there was a lot of concern about what the starting rotation would look like because you liked Andre Palante and everything that he's done. Now, for the moment, you don't have to worry about that because Lance Lynn is dealing with some knee issues currently right now. The starting rotation, I feel a lot better about it with the addition of Erick Fedde. There's been a lot of talk, of course, about how he was prior to going to Korea. He didn't have a great ERA. He wasn't exactly a great pitcher, but then he really changed things when he went to Korea, added that sweeper which Randy, Randy gets excited about every single time. What do you guys think about the pitchers who go to Korea and the adjustments they make and they come over here? We've seen that time and time again where players do find success. They come back a different pitcher. Miles Mikolas being one of those pitchers, for example, that kind of changed himself over in Korea. Now you have Erick Fedde as another example. What is it about the pitchers who go to Korea and then come back to Major League Baseball?
Well, I think they can work on specific pitches that maybe would get hammered in Major League Baseball. So that's one thing. And then I think there's something to having success and building on the momentum that you have. Going back to Randy's original question about, what would happen in the game today. Tell me if the wind is blowing out, and I'll tell you how long the start would go. If the wind is blowing out, I'd say 5 innings. If it's not, and it's a normal day or even blowing in, then I see 6 or 7 because he gets ground balls. Yeah. And if he gets ground balls, then he's going to win.
Dan, did you find, because I got the sense that when they put the big screens up in left and right field, the wind was kind of neutralized at
Wrigley. A little bit, yeah, a little bit. But sometimes it just didn't matter. Like it would just be blowing out, and you'd watch the flags on the top of the old scoreboard, and they are just whipping out. And then it can change in the middle of a game, too. Right. That's what's kind of unique is like you say, well, the wind is blowing out. Then in the 5th inning, the flags aren't moving, and you say, well, it's back to kind of what is a normal feeling of, you're playing at Busch Stadium or somewhere else that doesn't have the wind blowing out constantly. It changes the complexion of the game. That's what makes it so much fun at Wrigley.
I do think, to your point, Brooke, with Fedde, I don't know what it is about pitchers, Mikolas going over to Japan, Fedde going over to Korea, where players come back better than they were. The coaching, apparently, in Asia, on some teams, is allowing players to be better than they were.
I also think, though, you develop confidence. Sometimes maybe these guys don't have confidence because they're getting beat up in the major leagues and then go over and say, well, I need to develop this pitch. And then it does develop, like the sweeper with Erick Fedde. It's really good against right-handers, and against lefties, he's going to have a changeup and a sinker to complement that. But if I'm Craig Counsell, I got to load up on left-handers in my lineup today. And so I think that would be something to watch out for in his start. But again, if the wind's blowing out, I'll give him 5. If it's not, then 6, maybe 7.
Okay, so 7, 6, 5, 6, or 7.
Depending on the weather, which I think is a very fair point, Dan. That's a very important observation there. And he also, his changeup, he made his changeup harder. I think that was something that, another thing he did over in Korea. You've mentioned this before, Dan, but do you see some similarities outside of, if you take the ERA away, because there's an obvious difference there, do you see some similarities between Fedde and Mikolas?
I'd have to watch it a little bit closer with these guys. I just think that when they go over there is a lot to having success, and I keep saying this, and feeling like I can win. I've developed these pitches. I'm sharper with what I'm getting away with maybe in Korea than I would in the major leagues, and then refine that. And I just think having success, it builds upon a player and a pitcher in this regard, and he says, I can do it. I can be a viable option for a major league team. And so I'll have to watch Fedde. If you develop another pitch, then, like Zach Allen did that and all of a sudden became a star for a couple of years in the major leagues. If you can develop something that's sharp, that plays at this level, it complements all your other pitches. And so that's where I see a guy like Fedde having success and develops a sweeper, and it's a nasty pitch. It's really nasty, and he doesn't give up a lot of home runs. He's averaging nearly 6 innings per start across the entire season so far. So the other part about this, too, that I think is going to be something you have to watch is emotions of trying to prove yourself to a new team. Even though he's had a great year, you go into a new situation, you know they traded for you, you know that you're now in a pennant race. Just the emotions of that start, I think, can get to a starter, too, or any player. Apparently not Tommy Pham, but other players it does. Sometimes it's just the emotions of it. You kind of wear yourself out, and that's another reason I'd say he wouldn't go as deep maybe as you would anticipate in start number 2 and 3 and 4 and so forth and so on. We'll see.
And what does the Cardinals bullpen look like tonight is another big question here, because you have to think about that. You saw Helsley last night. I'm not sure when we will see Sean Armstrong. I'm sure we'll see him at some point during this series against the Cubs. But what do you expect the bullpen to look like?
I think you got to get in Armstrong immediately. Just because he's in a new situation, and rip the Band-Aid off, so to speak, and get him that first one. And if you have a safe situation, you got to go back to Ryan Helsley. It's back-to-back games. Shouldn't be that much of a taxing situation for him. And if it's a safe situation, he's your closer. You got to go to him because these are winnable games potentially, and you have to win these games.
My guess would be that they would mix and match Armstrong and Kittredge. They'll serve the same role on different days. Nice to get a couple of strikeouts, by the way, out of JoJo Romero last night.
Yes.
Huge.
Yes.
He needed the time off.
Yeah.
And maybe they're going to be a little bit more careful with him, going back to back, maybe not as much, but they need a left-hander to kind of jump out of that fray of what they have right now. They need to go to a left-hander that they can count on, and they counted on Romero so much in the first half. We'll see if that develops here in the second half. Which guy steps up?
Coming up, they said, what? Brooke has it for us here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends at Rhino Shield. Plenty of businesses around the area have used Rhino Shield's product. Rhymes Heating and Cooling in South County, St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Campbell Hill, Illinois, the Gravois Village Shopping Center in High Ridge. That's my neck of the woods. All of these businesses called Darren at Rhino Shield. Why? Because the exterior of their business needed a facelift, whether it was water damage, whether it was paint chipping off. The look didn't match the product, and that's why they called Rhino Shield, because they wanted the facelift. Rhino Shield uses a ceramic coating. It's not paint, which means you're going to get the proper product that when you use Rhino Shield's work, you never have to worry about it again. It's a 2 to 3 coat process. It's 100% waterproof. It deflects 90% of the UV rays. You set it and forget it, and you get a 25-year transferable warranty. Have Darren come out from Rhino Shield, give you a free estimate, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25rhino.com.
Honey, I really think we should have our AC unit serviced before summer.
when you speak, or do you find you drift in and out?
What you talking about?
Well, I'm out, man.
He'll lose a few tenths for that. It's a home run. Oh, my God.
Good things come to those who wait.
The drought is over. Team USA, they will be on that medal stand.
What you just heard was the moment that the drought ended for the U.S. men's gymnastics team, winning their first Olympic medal since 2008. It's time for They Said What. And a big reason why, guys, is because of their pommel horse specialist. Have you heard of this guy? His name is Steven Nedorosik, and he has turned into a social media sensation. So if you tuned into that moment, you could see Steven Nedorosik literally just brought in for the pommel horse, and he was waiting for his turn. And then when it finally came up, it was a big moment for him because they needed him to perform well in order to medal for the first time since 2008. He took off his glasses. He does have an eye condition.
What is it? What's his eye condition?
Well, so there's a technical term for this, and I'm going to try to avoid what you're doing here because I know what you're doing, Randy.
What's the technical term?
Strabismus, I believe is what it's called.
What's it do? What happens to his eyes?
It's lazy eye or he's cross-eyed.
Brooke, that's not the technical term.
Oh, what is the technical term?
The technical term
Dan,
is
help me.
atchaphoria. One eye looking at you, one eye looking for you.
Dan, help.
Brooke, this is your segment.
I knew that I was going to try to avoid this, but either way, so he's become a social media sensation because he has kind of called himself a geek, a nerd. He has the glasses, he takes them off, and people are calling him the Clark Kent of gymnastics because he took his glasses off and turned into a superhero for the U.S. men's gymnastics team. And here's what he had to say about that moment for him.
I definitely do have difficulties seeing in general. That's why when I do take them off and I'm waiting for the judge to raise his hand, I'm really squinting and looking and looks like I'm so serious. But honestly, I'm just trying to see if he's risen his hand yet. But the thing about pommel horse for me is that when I'm actually on the equipment, I'm not necessarily looking at anything. What I see is what I feel with my hands. They do all of that for me. So, the vision doesn't really matter as I'm going up there and competing. It's what I feel. I'm an electrical engineer. I love math. I love problem solving. So pommel horse is kind of that event where you need, every single turn you take is another puzzle to solve.
So he's a very likable guy.
I love this guy.
I love this story because if you watch the event, as I mentioned, he was just hanging in the back, waiting on his turn, very laid back. Some people thought that he was actually napping because he had his eyes closed, but he revealed later on that he was actually visualizing his routine. And that was a huge moment for U.S. gymnastics, especially the men's team, because he talked about how he's trying to bring more awareness to U.S. men's gymnastics. We're seeing a lot of programs really not keeping up men's gymnastics anymore, and I love those underdog stories. Of course, you have Simone Biles, you have Katie Ledecky, you have Michael Phelps, all the big names of the U.S. Olympics, but to have a story like this, I like the underdog stories. I like the Cinderella stories.
And with all of the athleticism that we have in America, and by the way, the men's gymnasts are phenomenal with what they do. They're great. It's good to see, and maybe this is a guy that can draw more people under that umbrella.
Maybe so. Maybe the guy from SLU needs to talk to him. What's his name? The guy with the goggles?
Oh, yeah.
Robbie Avila.
Yeah, Robbie Avila.
I was going to go with SLU Alcindor.
That works, too.
I like that one a lot. Yeah.
I think because he wears glasses and has a condition, you pull for him anyway. He had great success, but those kind of stories, once you find out more about him, what did he say, electrical engineer? Mm-hmm. And does it by feel with his hands? That's an amazing story. I'm pulling for him.
I know. I feel like everybody is. Is there also, by the way, somebody said it's strabismus, and I got thrown off because I knew that Randy was about to tell his joke. So I was so worried about how that would go over. But I love the stories of that, the underdog stories. Is there a story in the Olympics, any time in history, that really stood out to you about an underdog?
Oh, Tanya Harding.
That's a good one. I love that. You know who became...
That's a great movie, by the way. Did you watch
it's
that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
Great movie. Was Allison Janney
Tanya,
great?
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
What about Mary Lou Retton?
Yeah.
That would be one.
In 84?
Yep.
Yeah, she
Bella
was fantastic.
Caroli.
Yeah. Eddie the Eagle. Remember Eddie the Eagle, the ski jumper?
Absolutely.
He was fantastic. So, yeah, there's a few out there historically that you like to see. I don't like it when Americans get beat by a dramatic underdog, but I like to see it happen.
When Americans are able to do it.
Yeah, when we're
course.
able to do it, right.
Yeah, so that is huge for men's gymnastics to be able to do that. And hopefully it will grow the game even more so on the men's side. We love watching Simone Biles and her dominance, everything that she continues to do. It's so much fun. But U.S. men's gymnastics is something that is kind of like a dying sport in a lot of ways. And Stephen even touched on that he hopes that this will inspire a lot of young athletes to pursue men's gymnastics now.
Yeah, I was so happy to see Simone so happy with her victory and then interacting with Snoop and then her press conference last night after everything that she had to endure 4 years ago in Tokyo. And dealing with the pressures that she had to deal with. To see her come away with a victory and be so happy about it was really heartening to me.
I think the other thing that I would look at in the Olympics is an easy one, the 1980 Miracle on Ice.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's like the best
that's
ever.
a good one.
The underdog.
Yeah.
That would be one for sure.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of injuries. Nancy Kerrigan. Mary Lou
You
Retton,
keep going.
Carrie Strug.
Carrie Strug would be another one.
Does an Olympic qualifier count?
Yeah.
Sure.
Paul George.
Oh,
when he
yeah.
put his foot into the stanchion because it was too close to the thing and he snapped his ankle in half.
Bad injury. Yeah.
That was an Olympic
That was
qualifier.
so nasty.
That was it's one of the worst injuries I've ever seen in my entire life.
It was.
Yeah, really bad. So either way, I really like this story.
Yeah. They said, what? I like that guy. I'm a fan.
The coolest thing about him is that he can solve a Rubik's Cube in under 10 seconds, and he gets mad at himself if he can't do it. Like if he does it over 10, he does it over 10 seconds, he's like frustrated that he wasn't able to get it down. Yeah.
Strabiscuserness.
He gets it down in 9 seconds is his fastest time.
What's his name again?
Strabismus.
Strabismus.
Basically, a nicer term, a medical term for cross-eyed or lazy eye.
Etchephoria?
No. Somebody said, how about the silver medal Turkish air pistol guy?
Oh,
Looks
yeah.
like a hitman. He came in with no equipment, basically. Have you seen people doing that? Like they're wearing ear protection, eye protection, all the different kind of stuff. And then he just came in like a normal day for him and won a silver medal.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
I saw a commercial last night that had earmuffs for dogs.
For thunderstorms?
Yeah, to take the sound away from a dog. I'm just going to throw that out there. It was one of the most unique things I've ever seen.
You need, obviously, small, medium, large, extra large, and XXL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Stevie would want that during the next storm.
She actually does really well during storms. I'm surprised.
Not me.
Yeah. Our dogs do great during storms. Yeah.
Not mine.
No.
They go nuts.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Brooke.
Yeah.
Coming up next, Matthew, do you need a fighter for today? For the fight, we do. Oh, we need a fighter. 314-399-9646. 314-399. Yo-ho! All you have to do is text in your name and the word fight to that number, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next here on 101 ESPN.
Hey, Danny Mac for Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refi, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, and maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things, let me make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage, and he will help you every step of the way. If it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he'll get you to the closing table fast. Try 10 days, and he'll get you the best interest rate possible. He also has the bagel loan that can help you out, too. So what's the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing cost. Stewart is your guy, and he makes it easy for you. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stewie a call. And his personal cell phone is 314-324-4440. Again, you can text him. Call him. He'll pick up 314-324-4440. Helping a lot of ESPN listeners. He can help you out, too. Or you can Google the Bagel Loan.
Last number, 226-715. This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals yesterday fall to the Cubs as they open up that series. It was a 5-4 loss as the Cubs plated 3 in the bottom of the ninth, giving Ryan Helsley just his third blown save of the season. Sonny Gray did have a solid start, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, but a 1 home run allowed. Cardinals back in action today with an afternoon game at Wrigley, and it'll be new Cardinals starter Erick Fedde facing off against Javier Assad for the Cubs. Fedde on the season before arriving to the Cardinals, 7-4 with a 3.11 ERA. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rocco here, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter today is Ben. Ben, how are you doing?
Doing great. Good morning, guys.
Are you excited to face Randy in the fight?
Super excited. So are my 8-year-old and my 10-year-old. We listen to the fight every morning, and they always are like, you got to text in. So we got through today. That's awesome.
Now,
Nice.
Ben, you're not a team here. You can't let an 8 and 10-year-old beat Randy, okay? This is
Well,
just
I got to tell you, if you throw in some Pokemon questions, I might have to phone a friend.
Nice. I like it.
Oh, wait. All right, we got to scratch
I'll take
this
over.
now.
Yeah, I'll take over. I got this, guys.
All right, you ready for question number 1, Ben?
Sure.
Okay, on this day in Cardinals history in 2001, the Cardinals shipped out Ray Langford to the Padres for this pitcher. Who was it? Was it Chuck Finley, Jason Christensen, or Woody Williams?
I'm going to say the first option, Finley.
Last year in the NFL, a new single-season record for interceptions was set with 5. Which NFC defender set the new pick-6 record? Rasul Douglas, Jesse Bates III, or Deron Bland?
I'm going to go Deron Bland.
All right. Did you get help from the 8-year-old on that one, or is it just...
No, but I can tell you it's going to be brutal when I miss a bunch of these. You know, my standing in the home will go down, no doubt.
Okay, thank you.
No worries there. All right. Well, which current National League team has spent just over a decade known as Superbus? Is it Mets, Giants, or Dodgers?
I'm sorry. Say it again. Known as the what?
Superbus. Which current National League team spent just over a decade known as Superbus? Oh, Rocchio, do you have something? No. Oh, okay. Mets, Giants, or Dodgers?
I guess I'm going to say the Giants.
Okay. And this is the final question. Earlier this week, a new record was set in baseball when this pitcher ended their streak of 423 regular season starts with at least 1 strikeout. Which MLB pitcher set this record? Was it Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, or Garrett Cole?
Ask the question again. I'm sorry.
Earlier this week, a new record was set in baseball when this pitcher ended their streak of 423 regular season starts with at least 1 strikeout. Is it Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, or Garrett Cole?
Well, as a fellow Parkway Central graduate, I'm just going to have to go with Scherz, even if this is not a very good thing for him. So I'm gonna guess Scherz.
Were you in school with him, or did you just know about him before or after that he was in there?
No, I'm a year older than Max, and actually I met you when you were working, I don't remember even for which station, maybe KMOX way back in the day. You came and you were doing stuff at Parkway Central, and you've always been super nice, and I just want to throw that out there.
Well, I appreciate that. Obviously, I was having a decent day, so maybe I just fooled you.
Could have been, for sure.
Thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. Let me go get Randy.
All right, so you're feeling good, Ben?
Oh, no, not at all.
No, not whatsoever. Are the kids around with you right now?
Oh, yeah, they're in the back seat. They can, and I put them on speaker. I swore them to silence. That was sort of the deal.
They didn't try to say, oh, no, Dad, this answer over here.
No, because you didn't ask about, like I said, no Pokemon questions. You could ask me who stars in Bluey. I mean, you didn't give me any of the stuff I thought we'd be successful.
Can I at least ask them this? Who is their favorite Pokemon?
Who's your favorite Pokemon, boys?
Dialga.
Dialga was the answer we got.
Oh, there we go. All right, now Randy is back in here. Randy, say hi to Ben.
Ben, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Randy. The kids will appreciate this because my son wants to get a radio to listen to fall asleep to, and I said I used to fall asleep to Randy Carricker's voice on Sports Open Line when I was like his age. So
man.
appreciate you doing this for so long.
Oh, I appreciate that very much.
Ben, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, because did Randy put you to sleep?
He was soothing. He was very soothing, though maybe not so much as the I don't know if it was called like the Great Outdoors Show or whatever it was.
Outdoors Show,
back in the day.
Yep.
Bill Seibel and Tony Albright, and they had to cull the herd. One time I was doing the outdoor show with those guys and brought up Bambi, and boy, did they get mad at me. Yeah. So you don't bring up Bambi, I guess.
I produced that show.
Yeah.
It was a good show.
Bill and Tony, I love those guys.
They were great.
One little inside baseball. This is one of my favorite things ever. During the All-Star break, Mike Shannon would go deep sea fishing. I'm sure that, Dan, you produce these shows. Mike would go down to Florida or whatever and go deep sea fishing. And then he would call in to the outdoor show to talk about his deep sea fishing trip. and then write it off as a business expense.
Wow. That is really smart.
Smart. Yeah,
That's
brilliant.
really smart.
Actually.
Sharp move.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for question number 1, Randy?
Ready.
On this day in Cardinals history, in 2001, the Cardinals shipped out Ray Langford to the Padres for this pitcher. Who is it?
Oh, man. Was it? It wasn't Justin Steele.
Don't
it?
play with your food.
Okay, it was Woody Williams.
Don't play with your food.
Sorry.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
My son Patrick used to call him Relangford. It was one word, Relangford. Woody wound up being a pretty good get, too, by the way.
Oh, very good. Very good. Last year in the NFL, a new single-season record for interceptions returned for a touchdown was set at 5. Which NFC defender set the new pick-6 record?
Was last year?
Last year.
Wow. Okay, I know that the guy on Dallas, who's Diggs, did it. He had a great year 2 years ago. But last year, Danny, I'll do the lifeline here. I have forgotten this.
Rasul Douglas, Jesse Bates III, or Deron Bland?
I'll go with Deron Bland.
Kind of clicked when we gave you the options, didn't it?
No.
All came back.
He said no.
Really? Just took a wild guess?
Total guess, yeah.
Are you being serious?
Totally guess, yeah. Deron Bland sounds familiar. I know it wasn't Rasul Douglas. Pretty sure it wasn't Jesse Bates. So Deron Bland sounds like it could have been him.
On to question 3.
Now I want to know more about this fishing show. I'm so intrigued by
hunting
this
and
now.
fishing. We did it both, yeah.
I need to hear some of this. Okay. Which current National League team spent just over a decade known as Superbus?
Superbus?
Superbas.
Superbus. Okay.
Superbus.
A National League team was known as the Superbus. Okay.
I like how you looked over at Rocky.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Okay.
It's a real thing. It happened.
Okay.
I had no idea on this one.
I'm guessing
I
it
didn't
wasn't
either.
the Marlins. Okay. Because they've never been Superbus. Or the Mets.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'm going to... Okay, let's see here. I don't think... It could have been the Doyers. I'm going to say that it was way back when, like in the 1900s, old-timey days. So I'm going to give us 4 teams here. I'm going to go... Because the Cardinals at one point were the Perfectos, which is kind of like the Superbus. So I'm going to go Phils, Doyers, Gigantes, and let me give you another old-timey team. Oh, Cubbies. So I'm going to go... I'll go with... the Cubbies were the Superbus until they found out what they were, and it was far from Superbus.
I really like that.
Logic. Thank you, Lindenwood.
So you went with the Cubs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brought to you by Lindenwood.
Earlier this week, a new record was set in baseball when this pitcher ended their streak of 423 regular season starts with at least 1 strikeout. Which MLB pitcher set this record?
I'm going to go with Clayton Kershaw, Dan.
Okay.
CK.
Final answer?
Yeah, Clayton Kershaw is my answer.
Matthew?
We have a winner in today's fight. Was Ben able to take down Randy Carricker after all these years and maybe with a little help from the car? Or was Randy Carricker able to walk into the weekend with another victory? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis. With the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Ben, I'm sorry Randy Carricker took you down by a score of 3-1 today.
Epic sadness in the car. No,
So sad.
not really. We're just so glad we stumbled into one right answer.
There you go. Good job today, Ben. Let's go through the questions and answers. On this day in Cardinals history in 2001, the Cardinals shipped out Ray Langford and some cash to the Padres for Woody Williams, and he would be a shockingly crucial part of the Cardinals pitching staff for the next few years. Last year in the NFL, a new single-season record for interception touchdowns was set with 5 when a Dallas Cowboys defender, Deron Bland, picked off 9 passes and returned 5 of them back for scores. The previous record set like 7 or 8 different times was 4. So the new single-season record in the NFL, which current NL team was spent just over a decade known as the Superbas. It was, in fact, the Dodgers from 1899 to 1910. And, Randy, it's so perfect that you did that because they changed their name to the Superbas, and the Cardinals changed their name to the Perfectos the same year in 1899. The Dodgers just for some reason went along with theirs for a little bit longer than the Cardinals did, and eventually they were changed to the Brooklyn Trolley Dodgers, which then obviously became the Brooklyn Dodgers.
They were also the Brooklyn Grooms and the Brooklyn Bridegrooms.
Yeah, that's insane. The Brooklyn Dodgers history of names is honestly insane. The Brooklyn Bridegroom, they were named after their manager right before they finally picked Dodgers for good, and they were called the Brooklyn Robins for a couple of years because their manager was named like Ventura Robinson or something like that.
And when they got hot, were they the Rockin' Robins?
Yeah, I think they should have been. I don't know if that song was out yet. I don't think that song was out yet. Earlier this week, a new record was set in Major League Baseball when this pitcher ended their streak of 423 regular season starts with at least 1 strikeout. That's the longest since the mound was moved back in 1893, and that was Clayton Kershaw. He beat the previous record of 411 starts. So a 3-1 win for Randy in the fight today. Ben, thank you again for joining the fight and joining the show.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Ben.
Ben, thanks, and thanks for listening for such a long time. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
And thank you to the kiddos in the backseat.
Yeah.
They were hoping for Pokemon questions.
That would have been better.
That would have been better.
We did some Pokemon trivia on the YouTube chat. I got 2 out of 2.
Oh, yeah.
I was happy.
Are you talking about DJ's question
Yes,
about the first Pokemon that Ashcott?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was Caterpie.
Really?
I'll have that in my brain for the rest of my life. That's going nowhere. That's locked in until I'm 80 years old.
I haven't thought about Pokemon in so long. Remember, did you play Pokemon Go?
For like a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Remember when that was huge?
Yeah,
I was like,
it was huge.
That's
huge.
Like literally the nostalgia pitch right down the middle for me. It's like I woke up randomly one day when I was 6 years old, walked into my kitchen to watch cartoons, and that cartoon was on for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And then it took over the world.
I used to love Pokemon. Have no idea where any of those cards are at my parents' house.
They're probably worth a lot.
My parents threw a chunk of mine away, and I don't think about it because I'm afraid what might have been in there that could have been worth a lot of money.
That and Beanie Babies. I had a lot of those.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah.
I wonder if those are if you go on eBay, if those are still worth a bunch.
What about Cabbage Patch dolls?
They are too.
No, they scared me.
Did they?
Yeah.
Would you scream?
No, it's just they were kind of freaky looking, huh?
Yeah.
It was very popular for a while.
It was.
What was the other toy that was big during our time, Rockio? Like the
Tamagotchis?
Yeah,
Elmo?
Tamagotchis,
Yeah.
and there was that furry thing.
Tickle Me Elmo?
That looked like a little-
Furbies.
Furbies, yes. I had a Furby.
Tickle Me Elmo was a little weird. It's good. It's a good one.
Not the furries.
Not the You see, this is why I paused, Dan, just in case I didn't say that.
Coming up on 101 ESPN, there might be a new best player in baseball. Greg Amsinger had some ideas about that this morning here on 101 ESPN.
Hi St. Louis, Roman Berkey here with my friends from Together Credit Union. I like getting paid to save, whether I'm at City Park or in my local Together Credit Union branch. With the new Empowered Checking from Together Credit Union, you get rewarded for saving, not spending. Get paid to save, like me, with Together Credit Union. Open your Empowered Checking account today. See you on the pitch, and thank you for cheering City SC.
Membership eligibility required. Visit togethercu.org for full terms and details. Together Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA.
The summer heat wave sale is on at Auto Centers Nissan. You can select new Nissans and have rates as low as 0% APR and for terms as long as 84 months, and that's all throughout the month of August. You can save big on select new Nissans with thousands in Nissan bonus cash and dealer discounts. It's their lowest prices of 2024, and they are live. Qualified buyers can take advantage of 0 down, plus take a break from their car payment for 3 months. With over 700 vehicles all in one location out in Herculaneum, you're bound to find the perfect car that fits your lifestyle and your budget at Auto Centers Nissan. First-time buyers or those with credit challenges have options too. They have the perfect deal regardless of your situation. Auto Centers Nissan is just a short and easy drive on I-55, and they're ready to earn your business with a fast, fair, and fun car buying experience. 30-day new car return promise, complimentary lifetime warranty on new Nissans and eligible used vehicles, complimentary 1-year maintenance on new Nissan purchases. It's Auto Centers Nissan. Tell them Stalter sent you.
Bobby Witt Jr. plays shortstop, a more premium position than even center field for Aaron Judge. The base stealing, the base running, his sprint speed, the 100th percentile in the game. He is one of the fastest players on the planet. He does everything well. I don't think anyone expected that this young guy could hit 349 at this stage of the season. He's still incredibly young. I mean, the sky's the limit. Right now, I think Judge would edge him out.
That's our buddy Greg Amsinger of MLB Network. When you think about the fact that Bobby Witt Jr. is playing a great shortstop, he is running like the wind, he is leading Major League Baseball with the 349 batting average, and Brooke and Dan, he hit 489 in July. 489 with a 1.353 OPS, had 7 homers, 22 RBIs in 23 games. I believe that overall, with all due respect to Aaron Judge, who's a very good defensive player, but I believe that at a more premium position of shortstop, that Bobby Witt is the premier player in baseball as we speak right now.
I was telling you guys yesterday, remember with my take it or leave it, that I believe that he should be the MVP of the AL because of what he's doing. He's a true 5-tool player, obviously a huge month. If he can continue this, then I don't know. I know that Aaron Judge has a lot of the more, if you want to say meaningful kind of categories and stats, has the status, the home runs, all that different kind of stuff that it seems like people care about a little bit more. But Bobby Witt Jr. is super talented, and I think that he should be the MVP.
Well, I think it's the age-old question. Are you the MVP of your team and the team having success, or the MVP of the league? And sometimes it's hard to decipher the two. At least it is for me when I take a look at who could be the best player in the league. I would go right now with Judge because of the home runs. The fact he can play center field, too, another premium position, has done that as well.
Slugging .689.
That's where I'm going with this, slugging .689. So, and the Yankees are 20 games above 500 and tied with Baltimore among the American League East. And that's something you have to keep in mind, too, is team success. A lot of times it does come down to that. You know, we saw with Andre Dawson. You know, the Cubs were not very good, but he gets the MVP of the league. And I'm sure you remember that, Randy, quite well. So are you the MVP of your team or MVP of the league? And it's for me, it's kind of hard to decipher between the two.
Here's the other part of this that I look at. And it's almost like Judge is penalized in my book because of the team that he plays for. But if you apply the word valuable, where are the Royals if they don't have Bobby Witt Jr.? They're down at the bottom of the AL Central. Granted, the Yankees aren't as good without Aaron Judge, but they still have Soto, and they still have other players. They just went out and traded for guys. They're actually getting decent work now out of some of the people that they got during the offseason. So I would say that in terms of just the word valuable, as it applies to these two, I would say that Bobby Witt is more valuable than Aaron Judge to his team.
Yeah, I agree with you. And he's been so exciting to watch. I'm curious, too. I was looking up the National League MVP odds currently right now and seeing who is in the lead there.
It's got to be Shohei, right?
Shohei Ohtani, of course. And I was trying to figure out who would be right behind him. Hold on. Stay tuned. Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So what happens to your argument with Stanton? What if you took Ohtani out of the Dodgers lineup? They'd still be really good. So is he the most valuable player on his team? I'd say yes. But would they still be having team success without him? Yeah, probably. I mean, the lineup's really good. Freddie Freeman, they're going to get Mookie Betts back here shortly. You know, you have some other stars. But the other side of the argument, if you don't have Bobby Witt, where are the Royals? I mean, they'd probably, 10 or 15 games off that mark. That's how important he's been. So is he the most valuable to his team or the most valuable in the league?
And right now, if we go by the WAR, Judge is at 7.4, Witt is at 7.2. We could theoretically pass him by the end of the season. I think Judge will win. I think Greg is right. By a nose right now, you take Judge probably over Witt. But it's weird to say. I think right now, at the moment, Judge is probably a better player, but if you go with the word valuable, Witt is probably more valuable.
Man, I don't know if he's better. Bobby Witt is so good.
He's really
he is.
good.
Five-tool player.
I can make an argument on both sides of this. The other part we haven't talked about is where you play. And with the voters, vote for a guy that is in Kansas City over a monster that's in New York playing for this historic franchise. And I do think there's something to that, a little bias going the New York way. I really do.
Well, and hey, Judge leads in homers, he leads in RBIs, he leads in on base, he leads in slugging percentage. I mean, he leads
sexy
in pretty
stats.
much every he really does.
Here's another question. If you had one player to choose from to start building around a team, who would you go with?
Witt.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too. He plays a demanding position, a shortstop, and he does everything.
Look at how much he changed the Royals this year.
Yep.
And granted, he hasn't played long, but he goes to the post. He plays. And Judge has had 2 years where he's basically not played.
Right. And that would be factoring in my decision, too.
Yeah.
Staying on the field.
Yep. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, we've got St. Louis City's interim head coach, John Hackworth, coming your way, talking some SC on 101 ESPN.
Toyshirt's foot is looking to get a cheap one. Durkin will pick up a cheap one. Betcher. Sorensen. Back for Toyshirt. And it's his opening goal for St. Louis City. Toyshirt's foot.
Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Carricker, the opening drive, 101 ESPN, and friend of the show, the interim head coach at St. Louis City SC, John Hackworth, joins us now. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Yourselves?
We're doing well. Thank you very much for the time. You take on Whaaaaaaaat in a Leagues Cup, a rare Sunday night match for you guys over at City Park. It should be fun. What are you looking ahead to with Whaaaaaaaat?
Well, we both already qualified for the next round, so this game sets up to be, is it really important for either one of us to finish first in the group? Our answer is yes, especially at home in front of our home fans, to build the momentum off our victory over Dallas last week. For all those reasons, we're going for it. It'll be interesting to see how Juarez comes out, but obviously we can't control that.
Hey, John, not that the Leagues Cup isn't important, but it's just different than the MLS regular season. Are there things that you are trying to accomplish in training and in Leagues Cup as you try to get this team back on track and with new players that you wouldn't normally be able to do during a regular MLS season?
Absolutely. I mean, you see around the league right now, some teams are approaching Leagues Cup differently, but we are basically using this almost as like a preseason preparation specifically for the new guys that have been brought in.
That's what I was going to ask you about, the new guys, as we heard in that highlight with Bescher. What have you thought about their first game debuts?
I think they're really have added some serious value to us. Simon in particular, probably the most unheralded of the new signings, but maybe had the biggest impact, although he didn't find the score sheet or the back of the net, but he was really impactful. We see a lot of potential out of all of them, and obviously Hartle and Toyshirt are fantastic players, but got to give Simon a ton of credit coming back to St. Louis, and rather than playing at SLU, he's playing in City Park, and he lit it up. So that was fun to watch.
Coach, when Cedric Toyshirt was acquired, looked to be a classic striker, but you've described him as a 9.5. What does he bring to that position?
Yeah, he's done just that since he's been here. He played more as a 9 against Sporting Kansas City, but he played much more as a 10, or that 9.5 role that I described previously last week against Dallas. He gives you the versatility. What we really want to try to start to do is make sure that players, when they have mobility or they interchange, that they understand their new role once they move, and he's a perfect example of that. He fits well, whether he's the highest guy on the field or coming underneath the striker.
Hey, John, when the St. Louis Rams acquired Marshall Faulk back in 1999, you go out to practice and you see them practice and you say, wow, this guy's just different. You can tell right away on the practice field. Are any or all of your new guys like that, where you see them on the practice field and you say, this is just different than what we've seen before?
I would tell you yes, and that's really nice to see the quality of it. But, we've had a couple really hard days. Yesterday was a hard day. It was hot, maybe one of our longer training sessions of the year. And I told Seti after training, I said, hey, I really appreciate the fact that you just grind, that you do the work, that there's no, body language that's negative. There's no comments that are negative. Everything I'm throwing at you, you're just going about it in a professional manner. And when a guy like that can step in the training environment and then lead with his actions, that he's here to do the work, whatever's being asked of him, it really makes a profound impact on other guys that are looking at him.
I really enjoy, I don't know who runs the social media accounts for St. Louis City SC, but they always leave little Easter eggs and hint towards things, kind of like Taylor Swift does with some of her songs. And it looked like they were hinting at a new signing, and maybe it just happened, I believe, with Horn coming in, the loan from the German side. How fun is it as a coach to keep getting new players just to work with?
It's great. It's like having a lot of new toys at your disposal, but at the same time, you got to integrate them, Brooke, and that's the more difficult part. I wish Lutz would maybe slow down a little bit because I got a lot of things to fix, and when he keeps throwing new players in the mix, sometimes it adds to the number of issues, but it also is super nice right now.
Coach, you've been in a new role. It's been a few weeks now. Just give us an idea of your transition. What's it been like for you?
I've actually tried to make the most of it and just enjoy it. I'm in a really unique and privileged position. It's something I've done for most of my career, but at the MLS level, I haven't been the head coach on the sidelines for 10 years. So this is really, I'm trying to use all my experience and knowledge and mistakes and good moments along the way and make the most of it.
Hey, John, you still have plenty of time left in this season, and we've talked here about the playoffs. I don't even know if you talk to your team about the playoffs or if you just put your head down and say one at a time. But when you look at the table and you try to piece together the idea of making the playoffs, can you find a path? Have you found a path to the playoffs?
Yes, absolutely. It's called win a lot of games. Maybe 7 of the last 9. So the task in front of us is daunting. I haven't spoken to the team about it because I want to be more process-driven about how we train, how we prepare, and that allows us to give ourselves a good chance to be successful. But as we come out of League's Cup, especially if we continue the preparations in a positive way, that will become a conversation for sure. It's the only way I'm going to get this job on a full-term basis anyway.
Coach, at times you struggle defensively. How have you been able to shore up some of the deficiencies in terms of defensive struggles?
Yeah, we've been much better. I think Kyle Hebert and Tim Parker have been instrumental in that. Obviously, you have Roman behind them. But Jaden Reed has been good. Thomas Totlin, we have other guys there, but having Kyle and Tim really anchor that central defense has been important.
Coach, are you watching the Olympics, and the USA national team that you've been involved with is playing right now against Morocco? If you have been watching and paying a little bit of attention, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm impressed. The last time we had an Olympic team that was in the semifinal was 2000. I knew the staff of that team very well. Some of them were mentors of mine. I knew a lot of the players. So last I checked before we jumped on this call, they were down 1-0, but I hope they can pull it back.
Yeah, just starting the second half and still down 1-0. One last thing, I know that you'd like to have great support on Sunday night in the League's Cup game against Juarez, and especially since you're going for it and you're going to make an effort on Sunday night. That can be a really fun atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm on this little cycling team. It's called Cool Bean Cycling, so a little shout out to them. Mm-hmm. They filled a little bit of our supporter section last week and were loud and proud, so much so that they have a new chant for me personally, which I hope doesn't catch on because I don't even want it to. But
what is it?
The point is the fans that were there were fantastic.
Good. What is the chant, just so we can get it going, even though you don't want it to?
I can't. I don't even want to talk about it. Maybe if I get this interim label removed, I can tell you. But you can seek out the Cool Beans on social media, and they'll tell you.
All right, sounds good. All right. How often do you ride?
Not very much anymore, but I used to ride a lot. So,
okay. Are you a road rider?
I would prefer to be on a mountain bike or a gravel bike, but I do it all just to try to mix it in. Mostly you can find me in Forest Park, riding around and ripping on some trails in there.
Sounds great. Coach, it's always great to have you with us. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Go get them against Juarez on Sunday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Will do. Thank you.
Take care. That is John Hackworth, interim head coach. He wants to get that interim label taken off of St. Louis City SC with us. We got to find Cool Beans on social media, don't we?
Yes, I feel like you really want to say this chant out loud, Randy.
It has to have something to do with hack, does it not? Probably.
Rocco, do you know what it is?
I honestly do not.
Oh.
Okay. Well,
interest. Let's see.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, we've got the Rush Hour Reset. Maybe we'll be able to tell you next on 101 ESPN.
Biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Hideki Matsuyama leads at the Olympic golf. He's at 12 under par. Xander Schauffele is one shot back. He is finished for the day at 11. Tommy Fleetwood is in third. John Rahm is 3 shots off the lead in fourth place. And Thomas Detry and C.T. Pan, along with Tom Kim, are tied for the 5th spot, all at 8 under par. The reason that I bring it up right off the bat here on our Rush Hour Reset is because I'm looking for Rory. Rory and Scotty are both at 5 under par through 15, and so that means they are 7 off the pace.
Ain't going to cut it.
No, that's
ain't going to cut it.
That's not going to be good enough.
Matthew brought up a good point, and I hadn't thought of this, but 2-year qualification, so you're going on 2 years ago, and the guys that qualify and not necessarily the hottest hand. So like the Ryder Cup, you're going with the hottest hand, typically speaking, in international competition, and points will qualify you for the Ryder Cup. But this is 2 years out?
Right.
I didn't realize that. Yeah. I should know that.
2-year window on your OGWR point score. So Bryson, I think, was literally I think he was one of the last guys who didn't have the numbers he needed. And I imagine if you made a 1-year window, he would be in and Wyndham Clark would probably be out.
Yeah. Wyndham Clark has not been playing well at all.
No, he hasn't.
He has not. Is this... If I'm not mistaken, is this similar to how things were going for the Tokyo Olympics with golf? The guys who were at the top?
Don't remember. I don't know.
I don't either.
I think Matsuyama was
should
at the
know
top.
these things.
Schauffele was at the top.
Yeah.
Schauffele won.
He did win. Yeah, you're right. So this is similar to the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
Soccer. Morocco leading the USA in the 54th minute 1-0 as they play in Paris. And the USA, and I still can't figure, I haven't figured this out at all. Why the USA basketball team, men's Olympic basketball team, is playing Purdue tomorrow. I don't know, but they're playing them.
Randy, it's Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico. I wanted you to say it the way that
Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico. You see, I can't roll my R's.
Is Zach Edey going to be in this game?
That's what I was wondering.
that would be something. Yeah, it's not Purdue. I'm sorry.
And I believe that's tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. St. Louis time.
And it's not Yachty's team, so
no, it's not.
It's not. There's a lot of clarifications that we have to make there. But sticking to the Olympics, we have to talk about Simone Biles winning her 8th gold medal, I do believe, last night. And then you also have Katie Ledecky. She also won. Was that her? I can't remember off the top of my head. I can find it for you in 1 second here. Yes, Rocky?
Was it 9th total medal?
I believe that was number 9 for Ledecky.
Was it 9th for Ledecky?
Let's see. 13th Olympic medal.
Oh, my God.
And 9 golds or 8 golds?
And 9 Olympic medals for Simone Biles.
Okay.
It was 9 for Biles.
So for Katie Ledecky, most ever for an Olympic woman, American woman, and for Simone Biles, 9 Olympic medals, most ever by an American Olympic gymnast.
That's amazing.
It is.
And especially when you think about, from Biles' perspective, that she's a gymnast that basically missed the last one in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to accomplish what she has accomplished is pretty remarkable.
It really is. And did you see the necklace that she was wearing?
Yeah.
The goat
necklace? Yeah.
She is. She is a goat, so she deserves to have that necklace.
Absolutely. Cardinals back in action this afternoon at Wrigley Field in Chicago. The classic 1:20 Friday game at Wrigley. The Cardinals will pitch Erick Fedde. He'll make his first Redbird start. He'll be opposed by Javier Assad of the Cubbies after the Chicago Cubs won last night. Bottom of the ninth, they score 3 to win it by a score of 5-4 over the Redbirds.
That was really tough, especially the way that things ended with Ryan Helsley there. There's nobody else that you would want in that situation. And it was just not a great game for Ryan Helsley. They're in. I mean, the Cubs scored 3 runs off of him. And it's not what you want to see. And I know that there's a lot of fans frustrated because you never want to lose to the Cubbies, right? You never want to see that. But it is just the 3rd blown save of the season for Ryan Helsley.
By the way, and this is an amazing stat, since pitches were tracked in 1988, the Cubs last night are the only team to have 3 separate 2-strike RBI extra base hits in the bottom of the 9th in a victory. They all came off of Ryan Helsley, who had not allowed a 2-strike extra base hit all season.
Wow.
That's how rare that was last night. But it happened. That's baseball. It's weird. And a chance to get back on track with Erick Fedde making his Cardinal debut today. Looking forward to seeing this. Looking forward to see what the weather looks like. Hopefully a nice blue skies, and maybe the wind will be blowing out. You have one of those games that just is crazy, but that's what you get at Wrigley Field. It's always fun to see it, the day game on a Friday.
Other baseball news, Mike Trout out for the year with torn meniscus in his knee. He's missed most of the season after getting off to a great start and hitting 10 home runs. And their general manager, Perry Manassian, said that he thinks that Trout's going to hit 70 home runs and have his best year next year.
I saw that.
I wonder if the
Is he going to do that in 100 games?
Yeah, really. Is he?
You know?
I wonder if the Angels look back at that contract and or if that contract will give other franchises outside of the Dodgers pause when they sign a player to that massive deal.
Don't you think that's happening already?
Seems like it, yeah.
I do. I mean, I think you look at the trends and you start looking in a non-steroid era of when guys start to decline in a major way. And it seems to be, I don't know if this is correct or not, but around 32, 33, 34, and what's your appetite of being able to swallow a contract, so to speak, at ages 35, 36, and 37. When guys are in the tail end of that deal and they're making a bunch of money, that's not easy. So you're paying for the front-loaded part of the deal and expecting greatness from that player, but they got to stay on the field.
The fact that they weren't able to accomplish something more when you had Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, and even Albert Pujols on the team, that is so crazy to me that the Angels were not able to do more than what they did with that talent they had.
The way that team has been owned is ridiculous. I mean, again, there's a lot of people that complain about the way the Cardinal ownership acts. But take a look at the Angels and be careful of what you wish for when you wish for a new owner, because the Angels, sure, they've spent a lot of money, but they signed Anthony Rendon to a $240 million contract. They gave Josh Hamilton $125 over 5. It's great to spend money, but you better be rather smart about it. I would argue that as good as Albert was for them for 6 or 7 years, that contract didn't work out because it didn't supplement Albert and Trout.
And they didn't win. I mean, it comes down to winning, too, and you have to win in postseason play, and they were not able to do that. And to supplement the talent on the field, yes, great lineup, yes, great middle of the lineup, but did they have the pitching? And the answer was no. So you have to supplement what you have and say, okay, the positive part of our team is that we can win with slug. But we also have to have a little bit of pitching, and it just seemed like they never, ever complemented the lineup with some type of pitching.
He needs to be a DH moving forward. In any way, I know this will be something that a lot of national shows will discuss. In any way, does this affect his legacy in your mind, his potential Hall of Fame career?
I don't think it affects his career in terms of going to the Hall of Fame. So I think right now, if it ended, he's in the Hall of Fame. So, but at the tail end of this, if he continues to get hurt, it'll be one of the tragedies, if you will, of a great player that just could not stay on the field. And that's tough to swallow.
You can't mention him in the same breath as Albert.
No, Albert stayed on the field.
Albert hit 703 home runs.
Right.
You know, Trout, for his era, he's going to be known as, it's more than a shooting star. For a 10-year period, he was the best guy. But he won't be one of the top 10 guys ever anymore.
Can't stay on the field.
No, and if he would have stayed on the field,
longevity.
Yeah, he would have been able to be one of the top 10 guys. By the way, I mentioned Anthony Rendon's name, and I just decided to look this up now. Rendon played 52 of the 60 games that they played in 2020, his first year with the Angels. Since then, he's played in 58, 47, 43, and this year 33. That's what the Angels have gotten out of Anthony Rendon for their $240 million.
And a guy that, by all accounts, doesn't look like he really cares.
Said he doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it, yeah. Wanted to reduce the season to at least 154. Yeah, that's a tough contract to live with for sure.
I can't imagine why. If you reduce the season, that also means reduced paychecks.
Yep.
I can't see the players going for that whatsoever.
They're not going to do that. They say, okay, we'll go, lop off a few games, but then we'll lop off some of your salary. Oh, we'll wind up playing. That's kind of like in the NFL when they say we'll add an 18th game. I mean, the players are probably like, man, I'm beat up. I'm sore. I'm in my last gas, it seems like. But, I get another paycheck. Yeah, I'll find a way.
Right.
Find a way to get on the field.
Yeah. Rendon, by the way, do $38.5 million for each of the next 2 years after this season. So congratulations to the Angels on that. And then Trout has 6 years left at $37 per.
Ooh.
This is a good question. 618. I remember others would compare him to Bryce Harper always. Now, would you say that Harper's having a better career?
Yes.
Oh.
I think the longevity of it.
Yep.
He stays on the field for the most part. They moved him to first base, which is important. You would think that there'd be less of a chance to get hurt maybe long term instead if he's in the outfield. Remember, he was a catcher at one point when he was in his teens. So now that he's playing first base, you would think that you'd have a chance to be in a safer position than playing the outfield and playing center field.
Harper picked the right spot, too, because he plays in big games and performs in big games. And that, to me, is a thing. And it's not Trout's fault that he's not in a good spot, but he's not in a good spot to make big plays. And Harper, because of his postseason pedigree, he's going to go down as one of the all-time greats because of his postseason pedigree. In addition to, he's won a couple of MVPs. He's been an all-time great, but then you can add the fact that he's been a stud in the postseason.
What would we be saying, too, if Mike Trout was a Dodger? And you got the 10 years of excellence and the 2020 COVID World Championship, call it what you want, but as a ring, it would have a different tone to how we look at his career for sure.
It would, yeah. Here's a question from the 314. What's worse, the injuries that hurt Trout's career or Mickey Mantle's?
Trout's.
Yep, Trout's. Over 500 home runs for Mickey Mantle.
Yeah. And still one of the 2 or 3 best switch hitters ever. He, Eddie Murray, Chipper Jones. Trout... Mickey had a career, and Trout, I think we can all agree, got cut short.
Do you think Lance Berkman is in the top 10 all-time as switch hitters?
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, he is.
Phenomenal career and doesn't get talked about enough.
By the way, let me give you one thing before we take a quick break. Bryce Harper, postseason career, 49 games. He has 16 homers, 31 RBIs, 16 homers in 49 postseason games, a postseason OPS of 996.
Man, and that's a big sample size too.
Yeah. Yep,
that's a big sample size.
That postseason, if they stay good for another 3 years, he might go down as one of the great postseason guys.
Yep, and they're going to be very good. The way that Dave Dombrowski has done this too is that he has made the right moves for the most part, but it's also an ownership group that's spending a lot of money, and it would seem that they will find the players, spend the money, and try to keep them long-term, try to keep that core together to continue to win. Yep. I mean, they gave Castellanos $100 million, Bryce Harper's over, $300 million? I mean, there's some big contracts that they've been taking on for sure.
Yep, that's your Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to spend a few minutes with our buddy Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, talk a little Blues hockey, plus some wing action coming up here on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. The Cubs scored 3 runs off of Ryan Helsley in the 9th inning to rally to a 5-4 victory over the Cardinals in the opener of a 4-game series at Wrigley. Pinch hitter Mike Tauchman doubled in Dansby Swanson to walk it off, just the 3rd blown save of the season for Ryan Helsley. The loss, though, did spoil Sonny Gray's best start in more than a month, tossing 7 innings, allowing just 2 runs on 5 hits, striking out 9 and walking just 1. In the game today, Erick Fedde will be making his Cardinals debut. First pitch is at 1:20.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals fall to the Cubs yesterday in this series opening game, and they drop that one in the bottom of the ninth as Ryan Helsley gets hit for 3 earned runs and blows up just his 3rd save of the season. Cardinals will be back in action facing off against the Cubs with an afternoon game today, 1:21 pitch. You'll get to see the newest Cardinal, Erick Fedde, in action as he takes the start for the Cardinals. Fedde on the season is 7.4 with a 3.11 ERA. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Our Blues insider from the Athletic, Jeremy Rutherford, joins us as he does pretty much every Friday. JR, good morning. How you doing?
Doing well. Just spending the last 5 minutes of my life explaining to my son that the U.S. Olympic team is not playing Purdue tomorrow.
Sorry about that. It said PUR. That's what PUR to me is Purdue. Okay, so we're going to talk in the next segment to our friends from the Wingding, which comes up August 13th over at the Armory in the city. JR, you appear to be a guy that's a wing guy.
Randy.
So do I. So what are your favorite wings, JR?
I know more about wings than I do the Blues, for sure. I love wings, so let's get that out there first and foremost. I actually just went with the wife and the hockey team the other night. We went to Fraley's, if you guys are familiar, in the South County area. Had their trash wings. Those are pretty good. I know your wings at the Fenton Bar and Grill are phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Those are phenomenal. I'm a sauce guy, so I know even with the trash wings, they're a little bit dry, but I just love me some sauce, any kind of barbecue sauce, any kind of thing like that. And then I'll tell you this. I don't think I've told this story before, but our friend Joey Vitale, we're in Buffalo. The Blues are playing the Sabres, and I take an Uber ride to the wing place to meet these guys. It's a 15, 20-minute Uber ride. And as we're paying the bill and leaving the wing place, and I don't think it was Anchor Bar, but as we're leaving the place, Joey goes, "Hey, guys, hey, why don't you think, what do you say about we just walk back to the hotel and kind of walk off these wings?" Like, Joey, it was a 15-minute Uber ride. This is going to be an hour and a half walk back to the hotel. Yeah, guys, let's do it. So we did walk back, and I guess we did walk off the wings, and that's why Joey's looks the way he does.
I have 2 questions for you, okay? Very important one when it comes to the wings. Drums or flats?
You got to go the drummies, and I will pay extra money for the drummies. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on this. I haven't heard that yet, but usually the menu will say something like $2 extra for all drummies. Here's $4. Give me all drummies. A lot better to eat and a lot more meat.
I'm with you right there. Okay, there's really no good way to segue into this, but Brett Hull is an actor now?
He is. And it's funny, as many times as I've called Brett Hull over the years asking to do interviews and write stories, and I get a text the other day, ding, on the phone, and it says text from Brett Hull, and they're like, wow, this doesn't happen often. And it is a mention of his movie that's now out on Amazon Prime Video, Google Play, Apple, called Minor Leaguer. And I got to be honest, I have not had a chance to watch it yet. I plan to, but it's Brett Hull and Teemu Selanne. And just from the clip that I watched, 19 seconds, it sure looks like Brett Hull because he's chirping Teemu Selanne. I think in one of the podcasts he brings up the fact, he said, Teemu hasn't scored 86 goals like I've scored. So I can't wait to watch it. And we all know that Brett spoke his mind. I can't imagine when I do sit down to watch this that he's followed one line on the script. It's probably just all ad-lib the entire time.
JR, right now, what's up with the Blues? What's happening is this is kind of the down period of the season, August 2nd. So what's kind of happening with the Blues, and then what's happening league-wide right now?
Yeah, definitely a quiet period. This is probably as quiet as it gets for the Blues and for the NHL, Danny. And even talking to a couple of players for the stories that I wrote recently with Perenovich and Neighbors and the Joseph brothers, they all said they're just going to soak up these next couple weeks. So I think some of them are going to get to town late August, probably early September. Keep in mind, it's going to be fun for St. Louis because the Blues are going to host the prospect tournament. Usually, years ago, they'd go to Traverse City. The past couple of years, I think last year they went to Minnesota, so this year it'll be out at Centene. So you'll see all the Blues' best prospects out at Centene, and then the main camp, and then we get into training camp in September. So, that's around the corner. As far as league-wide, I think quite on that end, and too, Dan, you had the free agency period. There were some trades, but I think that everybody's kind of settled in, know what the roster is, know what the cap is, and everybody taking that quiet time before they head to camp.
JR, we just got texted a story. Did you see that Nick Leddy caught 3 10-foot-plus sturgeons up in Vancouver?
Goodness.
3 of them. He goes on an annual fishing trip with his dad, and it's a catch-and-release place, and they caught 3 separate 10-foot-plus sturgeon fish.
Oh, my goodness. That sounds like an athletic story, right?
I was going to say, how did you get scooped on this, Jeremy?
Yeah. No, I'm sure I'll get a text from Mike Leddy. Speaking of getting texts every once in a while, Nick's dad is a great guy, and I converse with him a lot, so we'll have to reach out now that I get the scoop from you guys and talk to Mike and see what happened there. That sounds amazing.
The story is at fox2now.com, by the way. Somebody at the 2 Fox found it. So,
okay.
There you have it.
Yep.
So one other thing here, the Blues had some injury issues last year, but it seemed like at the end of the season everybody was reasonably healthy. Is there anybody that when camp opens that there should be any concern or questions about?
The only 2 would be Oscar Sundqvist and Torrey Krug, now that we know about Torrey Krug's condition. So, Sundqvist, I believe that he should be ready. I think, in fact, he's said that he feels like he'll be ready, but you just never know coming back from ACL surgery and how it is when you get out there for the real practices. And then with Torrey Krug, I mean, it's anybody's call in terms of how that's going to play out. The pre-arthritic ankle, they said that they were going to try the rehab route and see how that goes for the next couple months, and then they'd make a determination on whether he needed surgery or not. So all that to be determined once we get to camp. But those are the only 2 that I know about.
JR, we mentioned this a down period for really league-wide issues and what they try to settle, and players that might be out there. Are there any names that have not signed or names that could be on the move in the next 3 to 4 weeks?
Yeah, not names I think that Blues fans are talking about or that the team would be interested in. I mean, you always have situations, let's just say like the Mitch Marner situation in Toronto. Is he going to get traded? He could. Would the Blues be interested? Perhaps. Those are the types of things that I think people are aware of them, but it seems impossible or it seems unlikely. But you could find out in 2 weeks the teams are talking, and I'm not just talking about Marner, I'm just talking about other potential deals that are out there, and then all of a sudden, wham, bam, you got a deal, just like the Justin Falk thing happened just before training camp with the Blues in Carolina several years ago. So, in terms of names out there, Dan, it's I think it's slim pickings in terms of the free agency, and the Blues appear to be pretty well set with what they're trying to do. And I feel like with the moves that Doug Armstrong's made, like I wrote this story about the Joseph brothers last week, and I think some people are pretty excited about Matthew Joseph and what he can come in and do for that bottom 6. When I wrote that piece, there were a couple comments at the comment section that said, hey, Ottawa fan here, good player, can't believe the Blues also got a draft pick to get Matthew Joseph from the Ottawa Senators. So you talk about John Mozeliak pulling off a pretty good move the other day at the trade deadline. That's a move I think that Blues fans really like.
JR, last thing, and we hope you have a great weekend. I don't know if I've told you this. I think I may have mentioned it on the air, but I was having a text conversation about the Blues with somebody, and I was typing Joel Hofer's name, and the predictive text had HOF in capitals and then HOFer.
How about that?
Isn't that amazing? So no pressure on the kid. The iPhone calls him a Hall of Famer.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think my predictive text has spelled out some things that I can't send out. So I think when it says HOF, Joel will take that. He's a great guy, and I think a really good goaltender. And, I know that when people talk about trades, Randy, I think we were talking about a lot of names going to Ottawa and a potential Tkachuk deal if that happened. Hofer being one of those names. I just think that he's got all the ingredients. He's got the height. He's got the aggressiveness. He's got the technique. Joel Hofer is a guy that, if they decide to move on from Bennington at some point, like with his contract, has 3 more years left, Will they be entering that window then where they're a playoff team again? Is that a point where they move on from Bennington? I'm not saying they should be or they want to be. I'm just saying I feel comfortable with Joel Hofer being next in line for the goaltending position. Hall of Fame? I don't know, but I think he'll be a good goaltender.
Jeremy, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, and hey, give the wing guy my cell phone number.
You got it, brother. You'll be a judge. We'll see you later.
Yep.
Take care. Bye. That's Jeremy Rutherford on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we are going to talk about the August 13th Wing Ding here on 101 ESPN. 13th at the Armory in Midtown. It is the Wing Ding, and Brooke and I were judges last year, and we'll be again this year. It benefits UCP, and Kevin Litt from UCP, the Wing Ding, joins us now here on 101 ESPN. Kevin, it's always good to see you. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Everything's great. First of all, tell us what UCP does.
Yeah, so UCP, we support children and adults with disabilities in the community, at home, at school, at work, and in the community. So we have 8 different programs here in St. Louis that we serve people with disabilities and all different kind of in what their walks of life and what they're doing and what they want to do for our clients. So we do that in St. Louis. So yeah.
And we have some delicious wings. Of course, that is my favorite part about Wing Ding is that with a ticket, so if people want to come with a ticket, what do they get with that?
Yeah, so we have 2 different ticket prices. One is a $30 ticket, general admission ticket. It's unlimited wings, all you can eat wings for $30. And then we have a VIP ticket that's $90, unlimited wings, of course, and then all you can drink with that. We have small cakes is coming in. You get cupcakes, you get a pint glass too for being a VIP. And then you also get to meet and hang out with some of the judges, which is really cool, which you'll guys see you guys there and hang out with you guys at the VIP section. So,
and who are some of the other big star judges?
Yeah, so we have some really cool ones this year. We have Sean Woodson from the UFC. He's from a native St. Louis guy, UFC fighter. We also have Chris Kerber with the play-by-play for the St. Louis Blues, some social media influencers, TV people, and hopefully we get a Watts from SC. We're waiting on that, but yeah, so we got some really good ones this year.
Okay.
Is it wing time for us, Randy?
It is. So you brought in some hot wings for us, right?
Yeah, so I'll explain. So last year, as you guys might know, Rocc and Brews won our People's Choice Award last year, and they brought in some of their Carolina Reaper. We don't do this at the event, all these really hot wings, but we like to just see how Brooke and Randy will do with these Carolina Reaper wings. So love for you guys to try it, and let's see if you can handle the heat.
I can smell it. I can smell it now. It's already hurting my nostrils a little bit.
Very tasty.
Okay. Initial bite.
Yeah. This is how it usually goes. This is how it usually goes.
Dan's watching.
I'm just watching. I'm just taking it all in.
Okay.
Randall, you're diving into that thing, man.
It's a good wing.
It's actually really good.
Yeah.
It's not too hot. You can still taste the chicken. It's not crazy.
Fine.
So you love it.
I love it.
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to do too many I'm trying not to do too many smacking noises on air. That's bad radio.
Well, you are eating, so it's okay.
It feels so rude.
Smack away.
Okay.
Is this too tough for you, Brooke?
No.
This is not bad for me at all.
I definitely feel, it's hitting. Yep.
There it is.
There it is. Okay, the sinuses are clearing.
Yep.
I like spicy for that. Do you like spicy stuff, Dan?
I don't.
Really?
No, I'm not a spicy guy.
Like, what is considered spicy to you?
Everything.
Wasabi?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's... Like you said, it clears up your sinuses. I don't need that yet. I need that in the winter months.
And the great thing is, so at Wing Ding, we have 14 different restaurants. So, of course, we have Rocc and Brews participating this year again. But we have 13 other restaurants. We have Emo's. We have, who else do we have? Hot Pizza, Cold Beer, Slim Chickens. Over and Under Bar.
Are our friends from Big A's back?
Big A's, no, they are not.
They're so good.
Yeah, I know. We want to get them back, so if they're listening, love to have you guys back next year.
We also need to get our Friend Bar and Grill folks back.
Yes.
So
sounds like a pretty healthy event.
Yeah, so we have about 14 different restaurants, and we're expecting around 1,000 people to attend this year.
And how can people get tickets?
Yeah,
Kevin?
so if you go to tickets, you go to www.ucp.org, or you can go to our Facebook event, or you can go to Randy's, Brooke. You'll see us all on social media, kind of counting the days down now from Wing Ding, but get your tickets there.
August 13th at the Armory, and just go to ucp.org, and you can get tickets. And these wings were delicious. Thank you very much for bringing them in.
Well, thank you guys. And see you guys at the Wing Day.
I got a question, though. How do you disperse your funds? You said it goes to special needs children, right?
Yeah.
So what areas do you, is it high schools? Is it, what do you do?
Yeah, so we have 8 different programs. So we have a community services program that helps clients of ours really work to their goals and be independent. Most of our clients, that's their goal. They want to be independent and live on their own and be able to do. So we help them be able to do that. We also help them find jobs, competitive jobs in the workforce. And we have a residential home where people stay for 24 hours or how long, or if they need, if loved ones need to go on vacation or whatever type of needs they might need. So
awesome.
We do that all in St. Louis too.
Well done.
Great.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't know if this is doing this for you, Randy, but it's staying around. I wasn't expecting that. Like the spiciness isn't dissipating as quick as I thought.
I'm just starting to sniffle a little bit. Are you?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. So
it feels nice though.
Great.
It's just that it's a little sticking around is the best way I can describe it.
I love me a hot wing. So
yeah.
thanks. Yeah. By the way, is BK going to be at I-55 Raceway tonight? Do we know this for sure? Yes. Okay. He will be at the Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55 tonight from 4 to 6. Gearing up for the Ironman 55, the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Sprint Cars are back for high-speed weekend, including the most challenging race on the tour, the Ironman 55. Don't miss out on this extravaganza taking place today and tomorrow at the Federated Auto Parts Raceway at I-55 in Pevely, Mo, and go say hi to BK. Get all the details now at 101ESPN.com. It's going to be BK because Alex Ferrario and his bride Katie had a baby boy. So congratulations to them.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So we're very excited.
No, wait, was it a girl?
I think it was a girl.
This is their third girl, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought somebody told me that it is a third girl?
Yeah.
What are you pointing?
Ryder.
Okay.
Ryder told you.
Oh.
It was a boy. He was
Okay.
wrong.
So that's why I was wrong. Okay.
Wow,
Fair
Ryder.
enough.
That's a lot of kids in a short amount of time. I know a little thing about that.
So,
Dan, do you have any advice for him if he's listening?
Sure, buckle up. It's going to be a long ride, man, but that's awesome. Congratulations.
It's little Olivia, born at 6:48 yesterday, came in at 6 pounds 9 ounces, and she and mom are doing great. So
awesome.
Nice.
So,
Fantastic.
3 daughters. All right. Maybe he was rooting for a boy. I don't know.
Maybe so.
Randy.
I'm just saying.
You
Sometimes
can always try again.
If you and they will. I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I don't know why I said no.
Yeah, I'm sure. Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend. He said
Just
pleasure.
a thumbs up. Where's the pleasure?
Oh, because
Brooke, did
the
you have
mic's
fun
not
today?
over there. I
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Yes.
Good. Fun week.
My sinuses are clear.
Good. Daniel, you were awesome.
Oh, you were the best. Pleasure.
BK will be in on Monday
sniffling.
morning. I've got the Leukemia Lymphoma Foundation Golf Tournament. Obviously, my son, I think I've told the story here on the air, dealt with lymphoma a couple of years ago. And so many families dealing with leukemia and lymphoma. So I'm proud to be part of that golf tournament, raising funds of research into leukemia and lymphoma. So I'll be there over at Old Hickory on Monday, and then I'll be back on Tuesday. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us here at the opening drive, don't just have a great weekend, have an American weekend.